On this episode of Podigious.
Conflict encountered. Attempt resolution of inconsistencies. Attempt failed. Fail.
So, Renamon, you're a girl, right?
Actually, Digimon aren't divided into genders.
In some ways, we've changed a lot. In other ways, we haven't changed at all. Look at Rika. She used to just want to fight with us. Now she's tired of fighting, but she still likes to argue.
I know it hurts now, son, but in time, it'll get better. You'll see. Oh, Henry, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Your password.
You can use mine to get on the internet.
Podigious. Welcome to Podigious, episode 312. Red card, blue card, old card, new card.
D Reaper Part 2.
Jeri's Journey, Gender Grandstanding, Beelzemon Redemption, and Conclusion Execution.
Recorded August 14th, 2016.
Podigious is your critically nostalgic, analytical tour through the Digimon anime. I'm Jeff Ruberg, and I'm joined by my fellow Diginomes, Ashley McDonald.
The D Reaper is a Jabberjay, real or not real?
Oh boy.
Real or not real?
Oh boy.
It's real.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Asher Softman.
Hi.
We apparently all need to say Hunger Games things.
I'm sure somebody said hi in the Hunger Games at some
Ooh,
point.
good point. And Andrew Softman.
This arc needs a motorcycle.
Ah, the famous Hunger Games quote, this arc needs a motorcycle. This week we're looking at the end of Tamers and the D Reaper arc with episodes 47 through 51.
In episode 47, His Kingdom for a Horse, aka Winazamon Joustimon, Jeri has a Leo mom flashback, and the D Reaper asks, "What's a parent?" Gallantmon gets a horse from Norse mythology, but no one recognizes its name because it's not one of the Final Fantasy summons.
In episode 48, Shadow of the Beast King, aka Beelzebubble, Beelzemon gets kicked out of the Depression Dome, Hypnos broadcasts naked kids on TV, and Lockmon smashes a window to announce the debut of Susie's Digimodify sequence. Takato learns that you got a friend in me, and Beelzemon learns that he should use a trigger warning before saving someone with the attack of their dead partner.
In episode 49, D Reaper's Feast, aka Radical. That movie was totally canon this time, guys. The D Reaper revealed its final JRPG boss form and forces everyone to go on winterification. Definitely Not Davis becomes definitely not Ty. Renamon shatters the gender binary, and the monster makers spout a randomly generated series of scientific-sounding buzzwords.
In episode 50, Jeri fights back, aka Red Bull gives you wings. The kids finally top Yu-Gi-Oh's ridiculous card antics with a 4-way card multi-slash. Ai and Mako get a new toy to fight over, and Jeri gets a nod from a hologram. The D Reaper reveals its final JRPG boss form, and Gallantmon absorbs his magic carpet to activate a palette swap.
In episode 51, Such Sweet Sorrow, aka The Ultimate Vacuum Cleaner, Tsukuyumon strips to lengthen Justimon's sword, which ends up being useless because Ryo is human garbage. Henry has a conference call with the monster makers who convince him that becoming a propeller will defeat the D Reaper. The kids say goodbye to the Digimon forever, until the movie.
So yeah, this arc was a thing. Who wants to start off with general impressions?
Me! Can I just, really appreciate how tacked on Ryo felt? I never noticed this before, but they're always we totally didn't forget you, Ryo. And I was just yeah, actually we did.
No, yeah, me too. In my notes, I was no, you totally did, though.
You totally did. We did as watchers. He just did not need to be there, and it was hilarious. The writers didn't even try.
They were you weren't gonna go without me, were you, or something? And I'm no, they totally were. They were gonna go without you.
They absolutely were. You're right.
It was gonna be great.
I mean, on the one hand, that's totally true. On the other hand, I feel like Kazu and Kenta get similar treatment, and Susie at times, so...
Sure,
I mean,
but...
definitely.
Sure, but they also don't try to pretend like Kazu and Kenta and Susie are, big
Right.
characters.
Yeah.
And they're like, Rio! No, he's not.
He gets to be in the 4-way card multi-slash, which is not fair. He shouldn't be in that.
Is, Henry, so skillful. He made a card like turn and boomerang back to him.
Yeah.
That's the best.
He's actually psychic, they reveal in the last arc.
Oh.
Yeah. Ashley, what's your general
impression? I liked episode 47. And that's about it. There are moments in other episodes that I liked, but overall as a whole, like by episode 49, I was like, can you please stop talking? You guys just keep being like, oh no, what is it doing now? Oh no. And I'm like, just shut up. Just stop.
Yeah, there was a lot of... It could have been compacted.
Oh, it definitely could have been compacted.
Compacted more than it already was.
Yeah, and maybe they could have spent time on, like, something that wasn't this. Yeah. There were plenty of things they could have addressed besides this fight, and this fight just went on for, like, months, it feels like.
It went on for 10 whole episodes, considering I just watched all 10 episodes this morning.
Too many episodes for a single fight. Like, we're getting into Dragon Ball Z territory here.
Yeah, but it wasn't the 5 minutes thing.
15 episode 5-minute charging thing.
Yeah,
but like it might as well have been for all the progress they made.
I mean, there were moments in these episodes where they de-digivolve for no apparent reason. And I'm just like, what is happening?
I mean, they retreat a bunch of times.
Yes, but they never make clear. They're just like there's definitely at least one point. I think it's the first one where it's just like, we were fighting and we were doing fine, but now we're like, yeah, whatever. Let's just retreat for now. And I'm like, what?
I like how they retreat for a whole week and the D-Reaper like makes no progress on the entire city.
That was because like
I have a feeling that week did not happen originally.
In the non-dub? You mean in the original?
Yeah.
No, it totally did.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's stupid.
Right,
That's
it doesn't make any more sense. Yeah, because it's like they keep while they're in the first half of this arc when they're fighting it before the time skip. They keep hammering in how dire it is, how quickly they need to act because it's. I think at least twice they specifically spell out how fast it's increasing its size and taking over the city. And then they're just like, oh, we just went on vacation for a week. And it's like, what? Like, whiplash there.
And then my other concern about that 1 week is Jeri. How does she live through that? Because she's not like can move and she's not eating.
She's not eating.
No water for a week. You can live without food for a week, I think, but you would not make it more than 3 days, I think, without water.
Oh, she is drinking despair. So
well, also she's a Gallantmon, so how could Gallantmon stay in there for a week without getting really, really bored?
Hey.
Boredom's kind of the least of his concerns.
I didn't understand what was happening with Gallantmon, because at some point it was implied that he was like losing energy and like dying, and I was like, is this important? But then he just like randomly bounced back, and I was like, what? I don't understand anything that's happening in this arc. It's all so BS.
You would think that it would take the time to make Gallantmon, make it evolve even further or something, unless that doesn't work.
Yeah, I assumed it just didn't, work directly like that.
But you make what evolve even further? The D-Reaper?
Yeah. Use Gallantmon's power.
Yeah, I thought that was actually
I mean, I thought that was the implication. It's just so poorly handled.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think that was the implication. I assume because it's like so different from Digimon, you can't as easily as Digimon just like pull out the power to Digivolve. But it does make me think of the fact that they spent a whole, I don't even know how long, like fighting over keeping Gallantmon safe from the D-Reaper, right? And then like in the end,
he just voluntarily goes to it.
Right, he's just inside of it. He's inside of it for a week, and it doesn't really have any consequences. Like, but I guess he's already unlocked the power in the digital world before they left. So I guess his like purpose as a plot device had kind of been finished by that point. So maybe he doesn't even have that power anymore. I forget if they made that clear or not. That might be true.
Maybe, yeah.
But Ashley, when we were talking before, you said fighting words I need to address now, which is you were saying that episode 47 was good and everything else was just bad. And I was like, because 48
I have issues with episode 47.
48 is obviously the best.
48.
Shut up.
48
Beelzemon.
is 48 is the one with Beelzemon's redemption.
Oh, right.
The conclusion of his arc.
Well, of course you liked that one.
I want to hear Asher's complaints about episode 47, not your Beelzemon fanboying, okay?
I mean, I don't like how this arc treated a lot of stuff around Jeri. This one in particular was like, we had been exposed for 47 episodes at this point to the fact that her dad was kind of a jerk guy. And I don't think this one action redeems him from being a jerk parent.
I have more. I feel like that might fit better into my Jeri's journey discussion.
All right, we'll talk about it later, but that is largely my complaint about episode 47. Was that 47?
Yes.
Yeah. I watched that one a long time ago.
That car should have been a motorcycle.
Oh my god.
Never.
Do you want a motorcycle?
No. I just want someone to crash a motorcycle like a badass.
I mean, I can agree. However, like, Jeri ends up forgiving Mon in the end, which is just so garbage.
I have problems with that. I have problems with that too, but we'll talk about it later, supposedly.
Okay.
So garbage.
Well,
anyway.
Okay. Let's go on to our favorite characters. Ashley, who's your favorite character?
Rika. Always, forever. Rika, you stole my heart. And you get such trash.
Do you have a reason, or just Rika?
I mean, quite honestly, nobody, like, really stood out that hard in these episodes for me. But this is going to sound silly. And it's really early in episode 47, too. And it's just, like, a total garbage. Like, it's not significant at all. But the way that Rika said, like, when Takato's dad is driving them in the van to wherever, Rika's like, are we going to my house? But the way she says it was, like, really sad to me. And it kind of was, like, one of the few moments where I felt like they showed how young that they actually are.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh my gosh, are we actually... And it was, like, one of the few moments where the parents actually get to be, like, informative and talk down to the kids in a way. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I really like that moment. It's hard to explain, okay?
I just remembered I forgot to actually give my general impression of the arc, which is that Beelzemon's arc I thought was fantastic, and the rest of it was like there's lots of interesting stuff to unpack. The things that I wrote down as being interesting and whatever, but like overall it just felt very not that enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was like, oh, there's lots of material here to discuss and analyze and stuff, but the actual experience of watching it was like very underwhelming. Yeah. So Asher, who's your favorite character in this arc?
Oh, I mean, none of them really stood out. You're right.
Right?
I would have to say Granny.
Are you serious?
Granny.
This is an unjust. This is like corrupt media combating against
I actually
Beelzemon.
thought about trolling and saying Granny too, but I was like, that's just not my true feeling.
But Granny barely does anything other than fly, and he talks like
neither does
once.
anybody else.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. I liked Granny. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
You're pronouncing it no worse than the show does. I don't know if that's actually accurate.
Okay. Other than that, no. Many people were annoying.
Oh. Rio is definitely my favorite character, you guys.
Rio was annoying, but like that goes without saying. Shibumi, I want to throw him in a trash can.
That one comment he had, that one just like saying like, oh, he was talking to that Johnny friend in the global task force.
Johnny, my favorite character.
Johnny was great.
but when Shibumi was like, as I live and breathe, and then he makes it sound like, oh, even that is like, I don't forget, like even that is surprising. I'm like, what? Like, it's such a weird like humble brag almost to be like, oh my god, so glad to see you. But like, by the way, it's surprising that I'm alive, guys. Like, think about me, you know, like.
Is that a humble brag? I thought that would just be a straight up brag. Like, look at me, I'm so mysterious. You guys thought I was dead.
Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm.
Not a fan.
Mm.
Okay, you know what? I will pick a character who is not Granny. I will pick, and I'm not saying this because I agree with what he did at all, but Henry's dad, Jonyu, made this intensely awful thing happen. And
What a
he does
jerk.
not
Save
get
the world.
he doesn't get any forgiveness for that. And I wish I got to see more of how that impacted everybody.
Well, I mean, it's a cop-out because, yeah.
It's a typical Toei cop-out.
Yeah.
Wait, cop out in what way?
It's like there was no reason for the Digimon to go home.
Oh, yeah.
Especially-
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
This is typical in the last episodes for, like, everything.
I really did like that John Yu made that decision and was super, like, complex about it.
Yeah, I appreciate the complexity, even though the decision itself made no sense, yeah.
I mean, it's BS, but, like, yeah, it's BS, but, like, whatever. I like what it says about John Yu.
And at least, like, it puts a face onto, like, in a way that's, like, in other seasons where it's like, oh, well, it has to close because it's closing, guys. Like, it's closing because the decision this one person made, and, like, the question of whether we can forgive him for that is an open-ended question.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it also partly, what's his name? Shibumi's
Yamaki?
fault for that part?
Oh.
No, Shibumi's
That's
mistake.
related to the mistake he made in the calculation?
Yeah, I think Shibumi's mistake was just about the fact they wouldn't be able to survive in the D Reaper zone very long. Like, I think it was just that but you said
I think it had to do with the program.
But he was saying he
I
didn't
don't think
calculate the card he made, which was the red card that let them go into the D Reaper. He was like, I didn't calculate the fact that they would be merged, and then they start splitting apart.
Which you'd think is a huge thing not to calculate.
That's a huge, oh my god.
Wouldn't that have messed it up a little bit earlier, you think? But whatever.
Wait,
whatever.
I just remembered, like, one of Shibumi's lines is, like, he's doing calculations or something, and he's like, Einstein had it easy. And I'm like, you made, like, the biggest error, and you think you're better than Einstein? Like, oh my god.
What a piece of crap.
Dudes in the show are pieces of crap. I just want to put that out there.
They're not all pieces of crap. Like, not all men.
A lot
Not
of them,
all
though.
men. A lot of them are crap. Yeah, that's true.
Just the ones in this group.
So, Andrew, keeping in mind that Riley did not ride a motorcycle, who is your favorite character this arc?
How dare you throw me under the bus like this? Actually,
I don't think that's what throwing under the bus means.
how dare you run the bus into the D Reaper?
That's not what that means.
I mean,
I really threw a wrench in your, and you can still choose Riley.
basically the monster makers and other people working on everything that weren't John Yu or Shibumi.
You can't choose everyone.
Yes,
I can. They are one entity.
Yeah.
And maybe that one reporter that sounds like Riley.
What?
Wait, can you explain your criteria again?
I do what I want. Just like this show.
Wait, it's everyone who's not one of the monster makers?
No, everyone who's not John Yu or Shibumi.
Who is a monster
On the Monster
maker.
Makers.
And of course, Jeri's dad. Basically every adult except for those three.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I guess a lot of people are going to get a point from that in the fantasy draft. Wait, did you say every adult or every character, every human?
Every
character.
adult human.
Okay, so it has to be an adult human, okay.
Who didn't do
not-
really...
So it
Basically,
includes
any
like
adult human who didn't do something ridiculously dumb.
so it includes like Yamaki, Johnny, Riley, Tally, John Yu. It doesn't include John Yu?
No, it doesn't include John Yu.
Okay. Doesn't include John Yu.
Or
Or
Shibumi.
Shibumi.
Or Jerry's dad.
Okay. What about Jeri's stepmom?
Was she
got
in this
some
arc?
redemption. I guess that's what you can call it.
I mean, yeah, she talked to Rika's mom.
She didn't do anything stupid.
She talked to Rika's mom.
Oh, that was in episode 47. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched that like 2 weeks ago.
I have seen that episode now. I watched it twice, and I did it in screenshots once.
Ouch.
Were the army even in this arc?
It wasn't the like I don't think it was the same like I think before it was the like
There was a UN
Japan's-
task force.
Right, I think before it was the Japan Self-Defense Force, and this time it was the UN. Even though they didn't call it UN in the dub, but it was the UN in Japanese. Anyway,
What did they call it in the dub?
they called it just Global Task Force, I think.
Yeah.
Really?
Which makes sense, I guess.
I mean, it's just like, why wouldn't you just name UN? Like, that seems weird too.
Yeah, really.
Anyway.
Is the UN copyrighted?
I don't think so.
Maybe?
Okay.
Trademarked, maybe?
Did you say your favorite character?
Oh, I guess I didn't. I guess I was assumed it was understood. It's obviously Beelzemon. I mean,
I mean, I know,
Did
but
you
you didn't
notice
actually
his
say
eye
it.
color changed?
That was a while ago.
I
Yeah.
know.
We tried
I
to
was
grill
just
him on
wondering.
this, and the answer was no, because he can't see the difference between
Oh,
red and green.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's kind of important in your favorite episode, because they focus on his eyes so much.
Yeah.
Fighting with giant eye.
I mean, he has 3 eyes, so.
Yeah, whatever.
それは一つの謎僕は誰なんだろう
So I wanted to. I don't have I just have lots of general notes about Jeri's arc in these episodes. I want to talk about them because I think it's cool that Jeri's character development is kind of directly tied into the final battle in a way that is unique for Digimon.
Or any kids franchise.
Yeah, I'll get to it later, but I'm kind of disappointed that none of the other character arcs are tied into it either. Or really, it's really just Jeri's. But anyway, yeah, and okay. So the first thing that I want to talk about was we get flashbacks to when her mom died, or when she found out that her mom died, and it's obviously really tragic that it mirrors Leomon's death, and the words that I think her dad and the doctor said mirrors what Leomon said. There's I forget exactly the details, but the line that Leomon's final words in the dub are different than the Japanese version.
A part of me will always be with you.
No, that part
Because that's what they were repeating, sort of.
Right, but so
a part of her will always be with you.
Right, but okay, so the Leomon's final words are different in Japanese and English version, and then there's also some confusion here because there's a flashback to Leomon's final words, and they differ here than they did when they first were shown. So there's some confusion in those mechanics. I don't really mind that because what we're seeing here is Jeri. I wish I remembered exactly what the differences were, but Jeri's flashback, and it makes sense that her memories of it doesn't. I think when this time when it flashes back, we don't get Leomon saying, "You remember you have a lion's heart." Instead, he just says "remember" a couple times, I think, and I don't really mind that because that's especially. I think it is logically consistent that the thing that the uplifting message that Leomon gives, she doesn't remember or doesn't stick to her memory as much as the other stuff that is more depressing or whatever. So, especially if she had just heard the line, "A part of me will always be with you," that she had heard about her mom, it makes sense that she's just deaf to whatever comes after that. Anyway, I also liked how in the flashback the doctors looked super evil. I mean, it was just really fitting stylistic choice to show how from a kid's perspective they would view the doctors as the evil ones, even though they're the ones trying to save her mom.
Doctors are scary.
Yeah, I guess that's also just generally true.
We should know, Ash, because we live with one.
We do.
And Ash, you're becoming a doctor of religion.
No, I'm not.
It's not a thing?
It is a thing, but it's not what I'm becoming.
Okay, so, and the next thing I want to talk about was specifically about, it's kind of about the development in that same episode with Jeri's dad. And I know, Ash, you were saying something about that before. Do you want to expound on why you don't like what we're seeing with Jeri's dad now?
I don't like that we're expected to forgive him just because he shows that he loves Jeri. You can love someone and still really mess them up.
Yes, but I feel like they sort of acknowledge that.
I did not feel like the show was expecting you to be and he is a good dad. The things we saw before where we thought that he was a not great parent are wrong, and he is a good parent now, and now we just know better. I feel like he had really difficult choice parenting is complicated, it's confusing. There's no one right answer, and what is explained in these episodes is that he, took the stance of trying to teach her responsibility instead of showing direct affection. And in a lot of ways, those are counter to each other. If you show too much affection, then then it's harder for kids to develop independence and responsibility. And finding a balance in those two was really tough. And I appreciate the show acknowledges that and shows his regret over making what he thinks are the wrong decisions, because his decision kind of ended up causing her to be estranged and caught up in the D-Reaper. And I don't feel like it ever says and thus he was not in the wrong for making those decisions.
Well,
and I think even when we are shown him being the good part of his fatherly affections or whatever, when he's hanging Jeri's clothes or whatever, and he says, "I'm not very good at this." I thought that was weird that it reflects what Rika said when she was trying to comfort Susie in a way, but even that is an acknowledgement that he's not good.
I found that kind of frustrating because I feel like that thing with the hanging clothes was a kind of like stereotypical gender role thing, like especially in Japanese culture where the wife is expected to do like all the housework and the husband is expected to come home and like have dinner ready for them and stuff. And so like that imagery of like, and now I have to like put her clothes on the clothesline was like explicitly like, and I don't have a wife anymore to do this for me, kind of like. And I was like, but like hanging clothes is really not that difficult. Like, I mean, that's like the least of like in terms of the like we just talked about the like really complex parenting issues of teaching responsibility and stuff, and like hanging clothes on the other hand is like that's not hard. But instead it's like framed as like, well, it's hard to learn a woman's role, and I'm like, no, it's really anyway, kind of a nitpick.
I think that they, given how limited time they wanted to spend on actual important things and wanted to spend on this ridiculous fight, like to convey that much emotion in the 3 seconds that they show him or whatever, like they have to rely on basic stereotypes and symbolism.
That makes sense. And I think it is effective at that. And it just shows that it's like, raising a single child is difficult. And okay, I'll give that some more slack. But further on the topic of her dad, one theme and message I found really compelling was how when the D Reaper, I guess it's all in that episode 47, like the D Reaper scans Jeri and then scans her dad and kind of has a breakdown not because of Rika responds and says like, yeah, you can never understand human emotion. And like, I feel like that's what, I feel like the message people take away from it is that like, oh yeah, the D Reaper just couldn't understand human emotion. That's why I was confused. But I thought it was like much more complex. It was that it couldn't understand the contradiction at the core of human emotion and nature, that like Jeri's perspective of her dad and Jeri's dad's perspective like conflicted in ways that like Jeri saw her dad as being like, the memories they show of Jeri seeing her dad were kind of like him being disciplinary, not being very affectionate. And the memories from her dad's side were like all him trying to care for her and like trying to save her and stuff. And the D Reaper was just like, I just don't understand how these two images can be the same person. And I found that really compelling because I think, what was it?
I don't remember the implication being that it went into his, I guess that was the implication.
It was scanning him. Like it was like...
Yeah, but it doesn't actually show it going into his memories. It shows going back in Jeri's memories to find who he is.
Oh, maybe. I guess so. But okay, I guess that might be true. And I think my point still stands, which is like there could be both those kind of memories within Jeri, and like...
No, yes. I still believe the core of your point stands more in that like the D Reaper doesn't understand how Jeri can care about this person, but also seemingly loathe them and still have this connection to them.
Yeah. And it just reminds me of how, like, I think the idea that humans are inherently messy and complex and full of contradictions is, like, a really important message. And so it reminds me a lot of, in Twitter political discourse, rationality is always held up as, like, the prime ideal. And so you get people who are saying, like, okay, we have very different points of view and very different perspectives and conclusions, but like the only true evil in the world is hypocrisy. Like being hypocritical.
I know it. I know it.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was saying it right because like my vocabulary is rapidly fading for not reading too much. But yeah, that like it's one thing to have like what someone comes from a different point of view, a different perspective on the political spectrum, but like as long as they can back it up with facts and like they're consistent, but they view that like if you back it up with things and like you find a contradiction in that, then you're like a bad person and you're like lying to yourself and lying to others. And I just feel like human nature is much more complex than that, and like everyone has contradictions if you dig deep enough. And it's not about finding contradictions in people and rooting them out. It's about like, I don't know, it's like, I don't think you can like untie the intricate threads of our thought in that way.
I was going to say that I think in addition to the D Reaper not understanding it, I think the way that the kids respond to the D Reaper taking parts of Jeri and simultaneously being like, it's not Jeri, we know this, but also kind of like falling into its trap at points also proves that humans are bad at understanding the contradictions within other humans. Like they want it to be simple and be like this part represents a larger whole, but not really.
Yeah, it's like logical fallacies are, the logical fallacy, like being like, okay, we know this to be true, but we can't help thinking it. I feel like you can't root those things out. Like they're just a part of emotion, and that emotion is important to our nature. Yeah, and in a lot of ways, I look at the way the D Reaper acts in that regard, scanning and everything, and I'm like, you kind of like an internet argumenter bro person.
It's definitely what the D Reaper is.
Yeah. Last couple quick points, which is I really appreciate how Jeri feels even more guilt after like rejecting Beelzemon's offer. And not offer, but like Beelzemon breaks through and then she rejects it and then he gets hurt for it and then she feels even more guilt and shows her spiraling down into depression. And I also appreciate how she climbs out of the downward spiral herself. Like she is the one who breaks open the shell as a kernel, and that is nice empowerment. And also it is interesting / sad / relatable / understandable how Jeri and everything sees herself as the perpetrator of this attack, of the D Reaper and everything, and not as the victim. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in a way that's like do you want to be like, Jeri, no, Jeri, it's okay. Like, no, you're not the perpetrator, you're the victim. And yeah, as I said, that's very understandable and realistic, and that is how victims typically, I don't know if victims typically feel.
And it was actually portrayed really well physically. I think it was portrayed much better physically than with the things she said, because like she kept repeating herself, and after a while it just got sort of like, why don't you get this, Jeri? But like the way she was positioned through all of this, like at the heart of the D Reaper, seeing Beelzemon like attacking her in a way, like hearing the D Reaper using her voice, like you really feel, or I really felt like that, of course that's how she'd feel.
One last point I had for discussion, which we can cut off, no one finds it an interesting topic of discussion, is just like, is it a realistic narrative that people have to climb out of depression themselves? Because I kind of feel like it isn't.
I don't think that's really what we were being taught here. So many people needed to come and help her. I think you can't I think an outsider can't help someone with, pull someone out of depression if they're not, holding on as well. But she was, Takato had to come in and physically carry her at the end.
The end?
At the end is what I said.
I mean, I think it's the thing where it's like, okay, it's true that you can't, like, people who are suicidal or whatever, you can't save somebody who, like, doesn't want to live. The thing that you have to do, though, is, like, convince them that life is worth living, which still requires, like, some outside effort from other people to help.
Yeah.
But, like,
sure,
the core is that you have to get the person to change themselves. Like, you can't just, like, Beelzemon going in and be like, grab my hand, I'll just pull you out, is, like, not the thing.
Well, I don't know. I feel like she was completely willing. She did have, up until that point, like, I feel like seeing him she did seem ready to, get out and live. But then seeing the Fist of the Beast King did not kind of reset her to a state where she was not willing.
That's not the impression I got, really.
Yeah.
I think she was just starting to, like, realize that people were trying to help her at that point. And then the Fist of the Beast King happened and it was like, oh, no, okay.
But I feel like she says, like, she, like, calls out to Beelzemon and, like, asks him to save her.
She was, like, just starting to, like, realize what was happening and, like, oh, maybe I need to be saved at that point. And I don't remember her actually saying, come save me. She was like, oh, he's trying to save me.
Oh, no, I'm like 90% sure she does.
Maybe.
In a way that, like, surprised me, because I was like the imagery is definitely of him, like, attacking towards her.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, so seeing her, like, call out to him and, like, want his help, I was like, oh, that's really showing a lot of complex emotional development there, Jeri, to, like, not immediately recoil and be scared. But,
right.
I feel like I do remember that happening, but I still feel like the overall impression I got was that she was mostly in a sort of dazed state and just, like, flipped slightly one way or the other. Like, she flipped towards, like, oh, I do need to be saved, but still, like, semi in that dazed state. And then, like, once she saw Fist of the Beast King, like, flip back the other way, being like, oh, no, like, what? This terrible thing. There's just, Leomon's not here. In general, I feel like it was part of the frustration with the following, like, 2 episodes was that Jeri just seemed to, like, flip one way or the other on a dime, and like Gallantmon didn't make any sense, and I was just like, I don't understand what's happening right now.
I mean, flipping on a dime in that context, I feel like that isn't. I think that makes sense. That is a realistic way that people feel when they are depressed and trying to struggle out of depression. There are things that like will briefly be alluring, and then times when you fall back into it, and it's not it's not as simple like just going uphill all the way.
I guess I had the problem with it because then it became an argument of like, D Reaper, you tried to convince me that feeling nothing was better than feeling something, and I'm like, when did it ever? When? There was never like no feeling of anything.
Well, she is like out of it for so long. I guess I interpret that as like, okay, she's not feeling anything at this point. But like, yeah, it did seem to be tied to sadness at that time. So I'm like, oh, I don't know.
So it just all became like a mess of like people saying one thing, and I'm like, you definitely showed a different thing. You can't. What's happening?
Yeah, I guess I at least appreciated that message of like feeling sadness is better than feeling nothing at all. I mean, it's like the core message of Inside Out more recently, and that, I don't know, that movie at least, gives a very compelling case for that. And here was not a very compelling case because it doesn't even feel like that's what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah.
スライディングしてすりむけた日さ痛くたってね
Okay, gender grandstanding. I feel that there are two people who tried to be very stand-up-ish about their gender, and it is Renamon and Rio.
Of course,
Rio. We knew that.
They're the power couple.
Yeah. So we finally got to the point where Renamon says, what are her exact words? Okay, so it's Rika's mom asked her, so Renamon, you're a girl, right? Which, like, I don't know why she asked that in the first place, but all right, Rika's mom.
I mean, I forget if this is actually spelled out in Japanese or not. I think it might be more spelled out in Japanese. It's that, like, their family is all women. So they're, like, asking if she's part of the family, like, if she fits in.
Oh, I guess that was hinted at.
Yeah, that was actually the vibe I got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because then she is like, well, whatever, regardless, you're a part of our family or whatever.
Regardless, we'll force gender on you. It's okay.
Yeah, well, it's fine because you wear fur really well, so you have to be a lady. That's basically what happened.
I was like, oh my god.
Renamon's actual words are, actually, Digimon aren't divided into genders. Which part of me wants to defend this wording. Digimon aren't divided into genders. If she had said, if into wasn't the preposition or whatever, if it was like, Digimon aren't divided by genders or something, that implied like they have genders, but they don't care about them.
Okay.
It's sort of how I want to interpret this.
I mean, I don't know what the preposition point, but I feel like one way to interpret what she said is that there is no social structure. There was no social structure around the division of gender like there is in our cultures with marriage.
Yes. Yes.
Right. That's what I think it's trying to say, but given the framing, that doesn't make any sense.
I don't think it's what they're trying to say. I think it's like one interpretation that makes it make sense. and one thing keeping in mind is just that like the awareness both among viewers and writers of the distinction between sex and gender when this was written would be much more limited than it is now. And also keeping in mind that in Japanese they're the same word, and I actually don't know. I think like both of the differences that we consider very distinct are the same word in Japanese, but I don't know.
But like in Japanese, does Rika's mom ask, "Are you a girl?" Because that would imply, I don't know.
I don't know the wording of the question.
Now.
I'm not sure the wording of the question. One thing I wanted to know is just how much my memory of where the scene takes place is so wrong. I mean,
right? I thought it was so much earlier.
This is so late in the game, guys.
I was so sure it also happened like while Renamon was sitting on a telephone pole, not a lamppost, and yeah, it happens late in the game. And this whole respite on like while they're on winter vacation, or whatever,
for a week
makes like I do not remember this at all, and
it doesn't make any sense. That's why you don't remember it. Your brain is like, I cannot understand, so I just leave that out.
So some points that come to mind immediately are Digimon obviously have. Oh, I'm just going to read Konaka's notes because they were. So these are notes on Renamon in the Renamon character section. We'll have a link to this in the show notes. We can go find it. And it was surprisingly informed. Like I expected there to be no mention of this, or if there were, to like not really be aware of the inherent contradiction because of the fact that Digimon are clearly coded with gender. But no, it's very aware. Okay, so he says, at first I had a sort of androgynous image in mind for Renamon. Officially, Digimon do not have gender. However, many Digimon such as Agumon and Gabumon acted like young boys, and there are quite a few obviously female Digimon as well. If anything, gender seems fairly easy to identify in Digimon. Eventually, Renamon would become Sakuyamon, a very feminine Digimon. I thought that the translation is kind of weird. I thought I would start Renamon out as a genderless Digimon and have that be a large part of its personality. In the last episode of Digimon Tamers, Rika says that it's not so hard for humans to change. However, Rika herself, as well as her relationship with Renamon, was one of the things that changed most dramatically throughout the series. Yeah. Although the writers were not consciously trying to prompt these changes, Rika, Renamon, and the relationship between the two shifted seemingly on their own, and it was very interesting watching things develop from behind the scenes. So I appreciate that he's at least aware of the fact that, like, yeah, this line that, like, there is no Digimon, there's no gender Digimon is kind of BS. Like,
he's like, that's just Renamon's headcanon.
That's a good way of framing it.
Okay, just Renamon's headcanon.
Well,
great.
No, I actually think, like, given what that thought of like how the Digimon clearly have how they present and identify and everything, I think the interpretation that does make the most sense is we're not like socially divided with a structure like marriage. Although Babamon and Jijimon would argue with that, I guess.
Digimon.
But another thing which I totally did not know this, and I'm like really blown away by this was there's more in this article from Kanaka describing how that apparently the voice actor of Renamon, Yuka Imai, if I wrote that down correctly, is also the voice actor for Rika's mom and grandmother.
What?
So yeah, like that scene is really interesting in light of that.
Yeah.
All right, that's weird.
So Rika's mom, grandmother, and boyfriend are all the same.
Yeah, they're all the same. No, but she got a new boyfriend, and his name is Rio, and he's disgusting.
Oh, I despise that segue, even though it is very fitting.
I don't. Oh my God, Rio, just why? Just why are you here? Okay, but actually, the moment that I really, really got mad about gender, Takato was also involved.
Of course.
I don't remember what episode it is. I guess it's episode 49. I guess it's like when they've gathered to all digivolve to whatever, Matrix Digivolution, blah, 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 to mega forms. And then they're like talking about how much they've all changed. And Takato uses as his example is like, yeah, look, Rika doesn't want to fight with us anymore. She just wants to argue a lot. I was like, that's the thing that stuck out to you about what's changed about Rika and like any of you. Well, really?
That whole conversation felt forced to me. Like it didn't really make sense, and it was like,
yeah, it was weird.
I mean, he was trying. I forgot this was the point that I wanted to tie into the inherent contradiction thing. That like I think his point. It didn't really fit and didn't really flow. His point about how like they've come a long way, and they've also a lot of things haven't changed, a lot of things have changed, and I think that's one of those contradictions that, at least to me, is very powerful because I value progress, but I also value looking back and having nostalgia. And I think that like holding strictly to nostalgia is really bad and really dangerous and Trump. And anyway, but yeah, it's totally out of everything. It didn't flow. It didn't. And then that example was, oh my God, like, she used to want to fight us, but now she wants to argue with us. And then she like goes along with it, and like, her going along with it.
I know, I was like, Rika, no, stop. Why are you doing that?
I guess it reminded me a lot of the discussion we had a while back about how like Rika's kind of bullied for that kind of like her personality, and then she has to go along with it because if she didn't go along with it, then she'd be seen as even more competitive and everything. And it's like, I just lament the fact that she has to like. It felt like she had to be like, oh, guys, ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha, it's so funny. Well, now I feel like now Rika has just become more proficient at code switching, where like with her mom and her grandmom, you still saw her being like sort of curmudgeonly. And her mom was like, stop making fun of like these cushions or these seats and like be quiet. And Rika's just like, rah, 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 rah. But then anytime she's now around Takato or Rio and them, she's all like, oh, you guys, you just like I make snarky things at you, but then I'm also like, oh, you're just trying to impress me. That's cute. I'm like, Rika. All right.
And code switching isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not like...
it's good for survival. It's bad for actually, like, changing people's attitudes that are garbage.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to address that, like, some people might view that as, like, she is holding two different personalities, like, that's wrong, or that's, like, she's lying in some way, or I don't know. Code switching is an important thing.
I don't think it's a lie. I think she's legitimately softened in both good and bad ways.
Yeah.
I think it's crappy that, like, her and Rio have their garbage exchange of, like, or you could die. Did you ever think about that hotshot when he's like, give me all your energy and just put it in my sword? And she's like, that doesn't sound like a good idea.
Which it wasn't.
It was not a good idea. Oh my god, I'm so mad that they were saddled with Rio, because she could have just done it herself.
That's what I was like, why does she have to give you... I mean, I guess the point was, like, I was like, well, why don't you put your energy into her staff? How about that, hotshot?
Yeah, really. And then he could be naked.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Not that I want that. They're all 10. But it was like super mad uncomfortable that in her giving power to Rio, it also involved taking off her clothes.
Yeah.
It collapsed gracefully in a little
and then she had to be saved by even Henry, who was like, I have no ammo, but like, look at me, I'm so cool.
I was like, okay with that, because I was like, what is Henry even doing right now? Where is he? Henry, you have a job.
Ran out of ammo, so he just sat there and he's like, yeah, whatever, you guys do whatever.
Yeah, like,
have your little lover spat.
In addition to it being bad that she had to, like, collapse and have her clothes stripped of her and stuff, like, she also just, like, throughout the rest of that, like, in several scenes is just there on, like, the metaphorical floor. She's floating on the floor, like, she's floating collapsed. And, right? She is floating, right? Maybe she actually is on the floor. I can't remember.
No, I think the floor becomes hard to tell where that is.
She's totally flying.
But she is, like, just... lying down, right?
Yeah.
In the sky.
Let me double check this. Like, it's like Bleach, where they have, like, skid marks on the, like, platform.
Skid marks on the air.
Yeah. Yeah, she totally is just, like, collapsed in the air. Yeah, but there's so many shots of her just, like, being collapsed. And it's like, well, everyone else has, like, a big purpose in the fight. She's like, I'm the one who's collapsed.
She had a big purpose. And, like, everybody had, like, a purpose. And then, like, we're done. But, like... She was the only one who had a purpose and then was naked.
And I just feel like they're all, like, overperforming their genders at this point. Also, I have to say, screw you, Rio, for saying, like, whenever they're talking about Rika being the Digimon queen, and that's all she used to care about or whatever, and he's like, and why not? You are the queen, second only to the Digimon king. Punch you in the face, you loser. Punch you so hard.
Okay. One gender punch, you might say?
No.
One punch!
Yes. One punch!
One punch!
Okay.
It's all it takes to knock out the loser that is Rio. Oh!
すぐ立ち上がらなきゃチャンスは逃げてゆくわかってるさ
So this is the Beelzemon moment. I incorrectly thought before that when Beelzemon was tagging up with Gallantmon, which was nice imagery to see them teaming up to save Jeri, that would be the moment. I totally forgot this whole thing where he gets absorbed in and then comes out and whatever. Anyway, this arc, episode 48 specifically, is really the final conclusion of Beelzemon's... Actually, no, I'm confused. Before, there are 3 points, I guess. There's the point where he comes in having digivolved again to blast mode to help out. Then there's the point where he goes in with Gallantmon, and then there's this thing. And in my memory, they all were, like, lumped in together, not really as distinct as they are. Anyway, I really appreciate the imagery of Gallantmon and Beelzemon fighting together. You know, the Gallantmon and Beelzemon stuff was nice, given their contrast early on, but Beelzemon and Gallantmon is directly calling back to their fight, and to see how far they've come since then, to be fighting alongside each other to save the person who was most affected by their fight. Well, I guess not by their fight, but, you know, that whole thing, that whole arc. totally Beelzemon's fault and everything. And yeah, and it also like their being able to work together is only possible because of the compassion that Jeri showed to Beelzemon, which is a nice thing. And I wanted to discuss to compare and contrast Impmon and his journey with Ken. Actually, just like raw gut reaction, who do you guys prefer, Ken or Impmon?
Ken,
I think.
Ken, but not the one that might be the Ken we know.
What?
Do you want the Ken from Try?
Not the Ken from Try. Because God knows who that is.
Oh, I thought you were saying you did want that one. Like,
I don't want that one.
Obviously, that's Jedi. Anyway, no. So...
It's Ty!
Anyway, so I think Ken is a more lovable character, obviously because he's human and Impmon isn't in some ways, but also like I think we can like Ken's journey is kind of he commits a lot of atrocious stuff, mostly off screen. We do see him being really abusive to Digimon with the whip and everything and controlling, but I feel like his crimes are a lot of not very major things in a way that like, I mean, it's still major to be abusing Digimon and enslaving them and everything. That's huge. But in a way that's like, it's not, nothing is as irreversible as Beelzemon killing Leomon. And he has a lot of that stuff. But I feel like in some way that's easier to come back from because it like there's nothing and the only thing it does that seems irreversible is getting Wormmon killed, but then that's, reversed because of reincarnation and everything. So, it kind of reminded me of the metaphor isn't the right word, but it's kind of a metaphor to a real life phenomenon, which is this that like, I heard this recently on the John Oliver's last week tonight. This was a metaphor to politics then, but anyway, that like standing on a bed of nails, your foot can handle that because no one nail pushes enough to pierce the skin. And
I don't know if standing, but lying on, yeah, sure.
Oh, well I'm pretty sure in John Oliver they said standing, but lying would make more sense because there's even more surface area.
Yeah. Depends on how many nails there are, also.
But yeah, anyway, and so that's kind of what Ken is like compared to Impmon, which is like one nail, one huge nail, which murders Leomon, and his conscience. So Ken, his arc isn't so much about like, it is about him finding redemption for the things he did, obviously, but I think it's more about him becoming friends with this group of people that he feels so bad about not having hurt them, but like fitting in with this group of people, given all the bad things he's done.
I think it's actually slightly more complicated than that, in that Ken is looking for redemption, yes, and the kids are actually, it's less about them and more they represent the good side of the digital world, and he wants to like get their he doesn't think he deserves their acceptance, but it's what he works towards anyway, because that's the correct goal to work towards in his mind. While for Impmon, it's more he wants Jeri's specific forgiveness because he did that one thing. And I think because we got that on screen rather than Ken's non-on-screenness for most of it, like I think that's why it feels so much worse.
Yeah, I feel like the Impmon's arc is a lot tighter because everything is on screen. Like all the stuff that he does is really bad is on screen. The stuff that he gets redeemed for is on screen. Unlike Ken, where like a large part of his development must have been interacting with Digimon in the digital world that we don't get to see. Like there are a lot of Digimon he wronged, which theoretically in their endeavors they go back and forth all the time that we don't see. He must have run into them and like had interactions with them and all that stuff. All off screen. And yeah, but I feel like Ken is more relatable because it's about like a friend group. Yes, he's trying to, live up to this good side of the digital world and everything, but it's also like about being friends. And like that is something that's much more directly relatable to people who are trying to be, trying to fit into a friend group that they feel alienated from. But on the other hand, even though I feel like that's more relatable on like the character level, I feel like on the arc level, having one big mistake that you totally regret and you're just trying to fix that one mistake or like make amends to that one mistake, I feel like that is a more relatable struggle on the like arc or action level instead of the character level. Because I feel like it's harder to relate to like the idea of being so evil to people before and like coming to terms with that. But whereas like making one big mistake that you totally regret is something that I feel like everyone's encountered at some point. And I feel like Ashley mentioned that like he's trying to get Jeri's forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I had a more, I mean, I guess I'm just biased because I like Beelzemon more, but like I feel like it was not quite so greedy, if that's the right term. Like he was trying to save her. And I don't feel like he wanted, like I don't think he needed forgiveness. Like I don't think he demanded it. But
right, he didn't. You're right.
Yeah, like he was trying to, like I feel like his intentions were mostly noble about like I need to get her out of harm because her position now is my fault. I need to like fix that.
Right. I was in that contrast. I was focusing more on the one personness than on Ken's like, oh my god, I just ruined this entire world thing.
Yeah.
You're right though. He was all just like, I need to, in order to try to undo this terrible thing I've did, I need to save this life.
Although I kind of a couple of different points during that episode 48 where I was like, it feels like he's straying from this more noble path of, you know, just trying to save her in a way that I didn't know if that was I couldn't read if that was intentional or just like a little bit sloppy writing. Cause like there are points where I'm trying to remember where they were exactly. Like after his gun is destroyed, he seems much more concerned with like getting revenge on the D-Reaper for destroying Mako's toy than saving Jeri. And I'm like, oh, and I think there is also one line, I can't remember where it is, where I think it does hint more towards him wanting to save her for her forgiveness rather than just for her well-being. But yeah, I just could never get a read of like, is this supposed to be an intentional stray from the path and then he comes back to it? But there was no reason, like there was no, you know, catharsis or moment given for why he came back to, because he eventually did, like, he went from being like, I need to get revenge on you for destroying this toy to like I need to save Jeri. But there wasn't a reason given for that. And okay, so the Fist of the Beast King moment, this is something I never really questioned before because it always just sat out to me as like this really great moment. It was a really good, I don't know, like the cherry on top of the arc. You know, like it's, I guess when we watched the episodes of 309, the Beelzemon Showdown, we realized that it doesn't really make sense. Like the absorbing the attack of a Digimon and using that attack is something we only see Beelzemon do, and it's only one other time in that fight. And it's not like, I remember it being a thing that like was shown all the time, but no, it is a little bit more hedged than I remembered, which is kind of disappointing. But they at least do set it up as a thing that Beelzemon can do at the very least, and I think it's logical that he would need to do it. His gun was destroyed and it was like his last resort. It's also tragic, and it makes sense that Jeri would have some hope and then react super negatively to seeing it. The discussion point I had, though, was like, was Beelzemon in the wrong for doing it? So my thought process is, I kind of think he was. I mean, I think that he kind of should have known that something that never would have been useful to save her. On the one hand, I could say maybe he would think that this is like a sign of like trying to connect with her. Like, look, I am fighting on behalf of this person. But instead it would clearly just cause such a negative reaction to, I don't know if he ever has a place to be able to make that claim, being the one who killed them, you know? It'd be one thing if you were like a friend who inherited the power or something, but like someone who did the murdering, I don't know. And yeah, I mean, curious if anyone else has any other reactions. Do you think that he was in the wrong for using the attack?
Yes, but I don't think he had the intention of using it, actually. I think it just sort of happened. I don't think he meant to do that.
I think in the heat of the moment, he's like not going to think about those things.
Yeah, I think he was just like, nothing I'm doing is working. Let me keep trying and trying and trying. And it just sort of came out.
I guess it would have been really nice if there was just any acknowledgement of like, yes, I didn't mean to use it. I'm sorry. Like, just like an apology would have been really cool. But
like if he had popped in his head and been like, hey, Jeri, sorry I had to use Leomon's attack, but like, can you grab my hand now? Okay, thanks, bye. Let's go.
I mean, it just reminds me of real life situations where someone has I joked in the recap about it being like, Beelzemon didn't use the proper trigger warnings, but it is kind of like that. I mean, it reminded me specifically of people who like, you know, will make your mom jokes or jokes like people dying in front of people whose, you know, like parents have recently died or something. And it's like, sure, you're trying to like be inclusive, but like you need to be sensitive of how people are affected by things. And yeah, my last point was just that Antmon wanting to introduce his tamers to the group was adorable. Okay,
so they only just got their Digivice. So, like, how did he know that they were his tamers before?
I think it was just like, you are my... Because we don't see how, like, the pairing started.
No, we don't? No?
Yeah, I guess I accepted that it was like, okay, there's no formal relationship set in place, but, like, there is a affection both ways or whatever. And that would Yeah, but maybe he just like spawned near them and like they took him in one time and then
I guess.
I think that almost makes his attachment to them and like his wanting to return to them and stuff more like a stronger emotion because there wasn't a, formal relationship set in place.
It doesn't make any sense though.
I mean, all of the partnerships that are just like, here's a legal binding document in the form of a Digivice that says you need to be partners are kind of frustrating because like, what if they don't get along? Like, shouldn't they see it? Like, it's like getting married before you've dated, like.
Which people do sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm just given these story things that I was presented. This is the one that does not fit the pattern, and therefore I'm like, but wait a second.
Impmon's too cool for the pattern.
Yeah. Obviously.
I mean, it doesn't fit the pattern, but we have seen Jeri and Leomon had interactions before a Digivice was involved.
Yes.
But like it wasn't like there were plenty it's a random time for them to get a Digivice. Maybe they just like there was like a critical age where they couldn't get it and then they just like happened to reach it.
It was just an 8, you can't be younger than...
It's like 5 years and like 6.3 months and they just hit it and then, yeah.
Did only I need to hit it?
I don't want to think about those mechanics actually. Now we are watching FoxKids Ads these episodes. This first one is for episodes 47 and 48, so here we go.
Next on Fox Kids, 2 all-new episodes of Digimon.
All right!
First, the hunt for Jeri is on.
Let's go!
Can the Tamers find her before it's too late?
Biomerge activate!
Then, the D-Reaper's getting bigger and badder. And Jeri's trapped inside.
Oh no!
Alone and
Oh
afraid.
no!
Get out of Jeri's head witnessing with her feelings!
Who will save her? Jeri! Find out on an all-new episode of Digimon, coming up next on Fox Kids.
I appreciate how Rika was the last image for like both halves of that commercial. Like, yeah, it's gonna be Rika that saves Jeri, guys. Like,
Yup.
make it happen. It is. It's way better than Rika Rio.
Oh, so much better. I would totally.
And then the problem is that, oh no, it's not a problem because then Takato can just get together with Henry. It all works out. What? They wouldn't be bad together.
I don't know. I guess so. I feel like I feel like I've never considered that, but I'm also like I feel like I've considered that a lot. I can't decide if I have or have not considered it. I'm not making any sense. So this next ad was for episodes 51 and 50. For episodes 50 and 51, the last 2 episodes. Let's see how they marketed the finale.
Coming today to Fox Kids.
You do not deserve to exist!
Take your best shot!
The 1-hour season finale of Digimon.
Hang on! We're coming!
The event of the year that will change the digital world
The event of the year.
forever.
We can't give up! Not now!
Watch out!
With an ending so powerful, you'll have to see it to believe it.
You are under arrest.
Don't miss the all-new 1-hour season finale of Digimon today to a brand new Gallantmon only on Fox Kids.
Juxtaposition of that.
Wait, go back? What happened?
The random police people arresting Kazumi and Kenta came, like, they did the voice over 2 of the main guys in Rio.
No, but it was after they were like a finale so shocking you need to see it, and then it said you're under arrest. Wait, let me see. Where was that?
None of these.
Just do it again.
Forever.
We can't give up! Not now!
Watch out!
With an ending so powerful, you'll have to see it to believe it.
You are under arrest.
Don't miss the all-new 1-hour season.
It just feels like.
And then Henry crying, like, no, don't arrest me.
Crying.
Oh my god! I was honestly, is this like a parody someone added to the commercial? Like, because it doesn't look like it needs to be there. Oh my god! Oh
exists,
jeez.
though.
Oh jeez. I mean, we wouldn't actually know if it was a parody. Like,
Yeah, they could be messing it with us.
yeah, there's only one source for this information. Oh boy, I was like, oh, this is not going to be that entertaining. It's just be like generic, we're the fate of the world, blah, blah, blah. But you're under arrest? Like, what? Wait, I need to get that as a soundboard clip.
And it's also like they're like the police because they're like showing their Digivices, like their badges, like I'm the police.
Okay, and the last ad is for Gallantmon. I think this is
Gallantmon.
Yes, I think this is like after the series ended when they were having reruns during the summer and they needed something to advertise.
Oh god, it's after Galador.
What even is that?
It's a Lego thing. It failed.
Oh, so many names I don't even recognize from this stuff. But yeah, it's kind of sad because like looking at the one YouTube video that we've been playing from, which is really great. Thank you, Sir Stack, for creating it. Is basically like Digimon Season 3 promos 2012. And we can kind of see, I guess, during the summer, like, because they didn't have, like, as soon as the fall hit, I think they had to stop showing Digimon, I assume. So, like, but at some point in the summer, they switched from showing Digimon Tamers ads to adventure ads. And I'm like, oh no. Trying to just appeal to the adventure before they had to go off air. Okay, so so here's a general ad.
Beelzemon, attack! Peanut butter. Hyperspeed activate! Peanut butter.
What?
Beelzemon, it's not time to eat peanut butter. Huh? Well, he is a growing boy. Digimon.
What? Why did they make his eyes glow? What is this?
Can I have my peanut butter now, please?
What?
Yeah, they added, so you're not going to see, you can find the link to the video in our show notes, but like, if you haven't seen the video, they took the footage in the show, but then added his eyes glowing when he talks about peanut butter.
This was the most bizarre thing.
He's possessed by the peanut butter, and it turned his eyes yellow.
That's a plausible theory.
Yeah.
The peanut butter will take over the world.
Probably.
Being a Digimon tamer is so new to me. I have so many unanswered questions.
Why does Gallantmon's lance work like a sword? Like, it just is a sword. He swipes back and forth, like it hits, like it destroys things if it hits it from the side. Like it's just a sword. Because
he knows that lances are garbage.
It's Digimon.
Why doesn't Kazu ever question if Gargomon can digivolve back to Andromon? Why doesn't he demand that that's a thing?
Yeah, especially in the fight where it's like we need power and.
Yeah.
I mean, we lamented before that none of the side tamers ever actually expressed desire to digivolve, even though the main do all the time. But
it doesn't make any sense. Like personality-wise for Kazu, that makes
and
no
especially
sense.
with a friend who has a Mega, like
he
would be all about like trying to one up that. Yeah. So what was okay? This is all episode 47, I believe. The whole thing about. So they defeat the one D-Reaper and then Agent, and there's another one that's taller and bigger, and like it has lots of things spouting out from it, and it's attacking, and like Takata, and they keep defeating the little guys, and like we need to get to the big guy first to defeat him, and that'll do everything. And Gallantmon tries to jump and like can't jump high enough, and then like that's why Granny has to come in to like save the day and everything and whatever. But like MegaGargomon and Sukuyamon are there, right? Maybe MegaGargomon isn't. I can't remember who's
They're
there.
fighting something else.
Let me double check this, because I remember being like, okay, none of them can fly, and that's why this is necessary. But then everyone else can fly, and it's just Gallantmon who can't fly.
Well, wasn't Takata fighting by himself, and everyone else was elsewhere?
Okay, so Henry's elsewhere, but Sukuyamon was there.
When again?
Episode 47. Sukuyamon was
Couldn't
on the...
Sukuyamon just, like, use some mandala thing to, like, lift Gallantmon up?
I mean, she also, I'm pretty sure, later on defeats whatever this thing is, this D-Reaper agent, in just, like, one attack. Later on, like, another one of them. So, yeah. It's all just... I just hate how, like... It makes a big deal about how Gallantmon needs to be able to fly. Like, it needs someone who can fly. And then later it's like, oh yeah, everyone can fly. Except Gallantmon. Like, it at least makes sense. Okay, because then it's like, okay, well now everyone can fly except for Justimon because he doesn't really count. But...
I mean, there are definitely times where it's like, okay, can't MegaGargomon just like pick up Gallantmon? Whatever.
Couldn't someone just throw him really, really hard?
Yeah. I like how Justimon has to ride on Granny too, though, at one point. It was funny.
No, I was like, all right, you made the two hotshot boys that you wanted to be the main people. You didn't make them fly, so then you were like, oh, I gotta make a cool thing for them. And then they abandoned it, and I'm like, why did you abandon Granny? Like, I hate all of it.
It's a metaphor for abandoning your friends.
Yeah.
Why did Latmon break the window? Like,
to jump out.
Yeah, I was like, Wouldn't they just if you ask, couldn't they just open the window?
You can open windows.
I don't think you can open windows that high.
Yeah.
But like everyone else just exited the building regularly. Like they were using it as a base of operations. Like having the window broken open is like really inconvenient. And what are they going to do? Like get in contractors to replace the window while they're dealing with this? Like, Gallantmon. And then they never show the window again. It's just like, oh yeah, like, Gallantmon.
They probably just moved to a different floor. Like,
I'm also pretty sure like doing that high up with wind like that would just like make that room unusable.
Yeah, and you would also just be really, really cold.
You'd probably go flying out.
So Henry, when Shibumi gives Henry the red card, he doesn't explain what it does quite exactly, because he just like leaves it a mystery for some reason. I guess in universe he has to explain it to him, because then in the next episode Henry knows what it does. Mm-hmm. But he gives the red card to Henry and like explains like, oh, I made this for you, and then the first thing Henry does is swipe it. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, it's not for now. Like, and like Shibumi doesn't bat an eye. It like makes a red pillar of
garbage.
But like it makes a red pillar of light, which does nothing. And it's like, wait, this did do nothing? What is going on? Like, what?
It looked cool.
I guess that is maybe a callback to when they like got the blue card. They just scanned random cards and picked up on the street. And anyway, okay.
Okay, wait. Miss Asagi was at school teaching kids with the D Reaper right next. What?
No. It's a different school.
It still looked pretty close when they showed it.
Yes, okay. It is. They moved to a farther out school. It still was like, I was like, that's way too close. Why are you still here? Like, come on. Because then, like, they definitely, when the kids retreated for like that, week of winter vacation, they were far enough away they couldn't even see it anymore, right? So like, they didn't have to still be in like the general Tokyo area, like. I mean, I guess it'd be harder for school to disperse like that, but like, anyway, you think if the whole city evacuated like that, they would not stay so close.
Mm-hmm.
This vortex thing that MegaGargomon made, the Z Reaper goes into it. How does it get past a spinning MegaGargomon? That doesn't make any sense.
Like, there's the blob, like the lava lamp juice going around him.
Yeah. Like, that's fine. But then, like, the actual giant thing.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, no. That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't know.
You have to understand, Ashley, he's spinning at a speed faster than light, so he goes through them because it actually reverses time and increases the polarity gravitational field reverse into the fourth dimension nexus.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I have no clue what you just said.
Vortex. Neither does
Black
anybody else.
Beyblade.
I'm going to save my rant about the science mumbo jumbo until stray bits. Nothing about the kids flying back to Tokyo makes any sense. Like, oh my, okay. So presumably they're there for a week or whatever because they're trying to formulate a plan. So like you'd think as soon as a plan is formed, they would have, decided what they're going to do when this plan is set. And yet all the kids seem to go off on their own randomly without coordination and fly off separately and just get there and like, oh yeah, you're here too. Cool. And
don't they all have cell phones, actually?
They do.
Call each other on their digivices.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't they have Oh wait, communications are down. Never mind.
I don't know if they're down all the way out there, though. I forget if they said that.
I'm pretty sure cell phones were disrupted, which is why we never see them.
Right, but that might have just been Tokyo area. Maybe, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Because, they took it, like, they had to look for a satellite to contact Henry, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah. Anyway, so it's one thing for the kids to go off separately, but like the kids act with their parents like it wasn't a thing they planned if they were going to like, oh yeah, I need to go now randomly, and they're like, oh no, you need to go, but I didn't think that was a possibility, even though we came here just to formulate a plan so you can go back. And the kids don't fly together. They get to the city and they're like, Takado's like, oh, what's that ball of light thing? Oh, Tsukuyomon's flying into it. Oh, I guess I'll fly into it too. Like, what? Apparently there was
what if they died?
What if it was just a D-Reaper like made a big ball of light and they just died? Apparently in Japanese there's a line, I forget exactly what it said, but something about like Takado sees it and is like, oh yeah, that's the place where we decided to meet, or like that, or like they had discussed that the monster makers made that thing for them to rendezvous at or whatever. But why was the floating thing even necessary? Like all they did was stand there and swipe cards. Maybe there's like a special gravitational field in that bubble that makes you able to slash a card 4 times, and maybe that's the only reason it exists. Ugh.
Okay, just how powerful is Marine Angemon?
It does nothing.
It just, like, goes through the D-Reaper, and 2, it's the only one who doesn't de-digivolve in the final episode.
Yeah, it doesn't de-digivolve.
Yeah, it just, like,
I
flew
was like,
in.
what? I was like, you can't just be like, oh, it's already tiny, so whatever.
It's a mega.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's totally unfazed by everything.
And also, like, they showed it being super effective at fighting before, but then when it's, when, like, Kazu and Kenta are cornered, it just doesn't do anything. Ugh.
You are under arrest.
Ashley, I think you mean...
You are under arrest.
Exactly. How does Rika know how to give powers to Rio?
Because she's magic.
Because
Garbage.
Actually, because every woman is born knowing how to do that.
Every woman is born knowing how to sacrifice her powers to men. I know. I get it. I get it.
Okay, Stray Bits, I'm going to start off with Pew Pew Pew, which I'm now calling a segment of Stray Bits, which is my super quick Stray Bits. Granny bringing Impmon to Sakuyamon is a nice callback to the reverse in the digital world where Renamon brought Impmon to the Arc. That was cool. Doodlebug is a ridiculous name. However,
yes, why?
What I did find, Ashley McDonald, is that where did I put this? Crap. That there was a light aircraft built to win a 1927 safety contest called the McDonnell Doodlebug. So that's a thing. Okay. And yeah, so Kanaka's, I think we talked before, I can't remember where we talked about it, but I guess it was like, is the D-Reaper Lovecraftian discussion. I mentioned Kanaka's speculation that the D-Reaper may not have been just a program that they described its origin, that it may have actually been like had contact with some other entity from some other world or whatever. And apparently it's in the Japanese version, not just like extra, like outside of the media context or subtext or whatever. It's also like Yamaki says it in that the little speech he gives as the thing's fading away. Apparently what he says there is like, maybe it wasn't actually from the digital world. So that's a thing. Anyone else have things?
Is that all your things?
I mean, those are all my rapid fire things. I have other less rapid fire things. Okay, well, I'm going to move on then. So John Yu's plea for forgiveness. So in the English version, in the dub, it's tragic how John Yu explains what he did or whatever and how he knew that the Digimon would have to be sucked away because of it. And he says something like, "Can you ever forgive me?" And Henry just is crying and shakes his head no. In a way that's kind of ambiguous, whether he's saying no or just shaking, like, because it's like he's shaking his head sideways, which is a little ambiguous, but I think it's pretty clear that he's saying somewhat no. The interesting thing is that in Japanese, it's a very different impression because what John Yu says, or I forget how you pronounce his name in Japanese anyway, what John Yu says is something along the lines of like, what I did was unforgivable. And then to that, Henry shakes his head no. So it's more of a like, no, I accept you, Dad. I forgive you.
I remember this going down differently though. I thought the last thing that John Yu said was like, it will get better with time.
Yeah.
And then Henry shakes his head no. I interpreted it as Henry will just always be sad. Not that he didn't forgive him.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
That must make sense too. Yeah, I was going to say that like I don't, given my different interpretation, which was that like Henry is not forgiving him. I like the dub version better than the Japanese version because it kind of feels a little bit too clean for him to forgive him so quickly and easily. I kind of like the fact that Henry, who was always so cool and calm and rational, in this one moment would be like, no, I don't forgive you and I won't forgive you. So yeah. And I guess the way it is presented in English, it is ambiguous enough that you don't know whether he's shaking his head no to the getting better with time or forgiving him.
Yeah. And then I interpreted John Yu's crying in return, not as like a, oh my God, you'll never forgive me, but as a like, oh my God, you're going to be like permanently sad.
Yeah. Like what have I done to my son?
Ruined my child's life.
Yeah.
That's always, because like, yeah, I mean, John Yu can't really, he can try as much as he can to like understand what Henry's going through, but like he says those kinds of like empty words of encouragement that parents always say, like, oh, it's going to get better and blah blah blah, like people always say that, and Henry's like, no, it's not, and he's like, oh crap, it's not.
But I mean, it's also like you don't really believe Henry because you always feel in the moment that like something won't get better, but it normally does. It's actually a fact.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, it's because they do get the Digimon back again. Spoiler alert, but in the movie, but also just you do. Yeah, it's been like proven in psychological studies that we underestimate our ability to heal emotionally in the moment. We assume that we'll never heal about something when we actually our capacity for healing is really high.
Yay, humans.
Yay. Okay. Oh my god. Scientific mumbo jumbo. Oh my. Okay. So much BS. Okay. Here, I'm just going to read my notes. So much BS. Complete mumbo jumbo. Essentially an equally distributed region of energy. The weak and strong forces are in complete balance with each other. The particles inside are traveling faster than light. Quantum bubble. None of this makes sense. Okay. Big Bang. Black hole. The solution is to make a black hole. Of course, a black hole will destroy anything, but it would also destroy the Earth. And making a black hole requires blowing up a freaking sun. A Big Bang doesn't create a black hole. Those are just two fancy sounding space terms next to each other.
A Big Bang creates the opposite of a black hole.
Yeah, well, Big Bang just creates things. I mean, it's not like before the Big Bang there was a black hole. It's not like a black hole. Right. So it's just like black holes are part of the things created by Big Bangs, kind of. I mean, I don't know if once a Big Bang happens, if there are black holes immediately, I feel like things maybe have to settle enough for things to concentrate enough to make black holes after that. But anyway, and the vortex will revert the D-Reaper to its original form. I think most of these things I wrote down were not from the whole breadth of episodes. It was a particular part in, I think, episode, the one where they're in their vacation resort or whatever, and it's not in the research center, and coming up with a plan. I'm just like, oh my god, this plan. So my conclusion is just this frustrates me, knowing enough scientific terminology to know that what they're saying is complete BS, gibberish, like when I said before, when I just strung random words together. It frustrates me. But the important thing for the piece of work itself is how much of that matters to someone who doesn't know. Because most of the audience isn't going to know how BS the things are. And I'm curious to hear everyone else's response to that question. But I think it fails because even looking past that stuff, it still felt too easy. It still felt like they were like, oh, we got one new piece of information. Therefore, the answer is this. Okay, we solved it. Now go back. I'm curious what everyone else thinks. Do you think that I suspect that people are going to complain that there was too much talking about the BS science stuff, considering we were talking about how it needed to be condensed, and there was quite a lot of it.
I mean, I wouldn't mind talking about science if it wasn't BS, but because it's just they just say random words, I'm like, come on, stop.
So even with a not as much science knowledge, you were aware that it was just complete BS?
I mean, the thing where it was the strong and the weak particles are in complete balance with each other, I was like, what could that possibly mean? that you can then that just changes what the particles are, right? They're either strong or they're weak if they're the same at that point. That doesn't, or if they're in balance, what does that do? The weak ones are still, what? It doesn't.
I mean, I think what's actually, it's going, there's nuclear, the forces, I forget the stuff. I think it's the forces at play on a nuclear level, there's strong force and weak force. And I don't think those are necessarily one is strong on the other, just different. I forget. I'd never.
But they said it it made complete sense what that could possibly mean.
No, it doesn't.
I was like, I don't know what does that actually mean though? What?
Right, it's clearly trying to sound impressive. It is not trying to make it approachable in a way that's and here's why a viewer would understand why this is meaningful information.
I believe I also know enough about black holes to be you cannot just no.
I mean, but black holes are so often misrepresented in media. So often it's I'll just make a local black hole. And it's no, the point of a black hole is that it sucks in everything around it. And there is some, I forget what the term is, terminal velocity. No, it's escape. Oh, there's a term for the radius. They have to be out for the point is it sucks in everything that's within a certain radius, including light, and that's why it looks black. But that for the tiniest black hole you would have to make would still suck in the entire Earth. Well, I don't know, whatever. Yeah.
It was just please don't just. I mean, it's on some level, I feel they have to explain some scientific explanation for their plans. They're just really bad at it.
Yeah. I think my conclusion is like, at the point where the scientific terminology is meant to obfuscate reader or viewers, like it's meant to show that it's impressive instead of helping the readers or the viewer understand what they're going for. That feels frustrating. I guess the show is meant for kids. It's not meant to really. I think that part is not meant to be approachable. It's meant to be gibberish. And also maybe something to consider is that like I remember hearing something about how in like crime shows they'll show like them doing computer stuff that makes no sense, like the whole enhance meme, and it's like, oh, we need to type this into the meme frame and blah, blah, blah. And what I've heard, I can't remember where I heard this on like a podcast, I can't remember what podcast though, recently, is that, we like to, as viewers and amateur critics and whatever, be like, oh, that was so stupid. They're so silly. They don't know what they're talking about. But like, the writers aren't idiots. The writers are usually in on those jokes too. The writers find it ridiculous and they find it funny that it is so ridiculous sometimes. And so I don't know, maybe that's what they're going for here. Maybe the writers, didn't really care whether it made sense, and we're just like, we'll impress, the 9-year-olds, so let's just throw in stuff that sounds funny because it's so ridiculous.
I guess.
But it wasn't very funny. Okay, fusion confusion. Given how often fusion, not even, I guess there's a whole name of the season, fusion. Given how often fusion is common or how often it's used in Digimon, I mean, there's the DNA dissolution / progress in season 2, there's biomerging here, there's the like fusion spirits and stuff in Frontier. I guess that's not actually fusion though, in the same way. Although maybe it is with Susanomon. Maybe I can't remember how that works.
Susanomon is definitely a fusion.
Yeah, like they're all like in that together, aren't they?
No, it's just 2 of them.
Oh. Well,
and spoiler.
Well,
for the
anyway.
last episode.
Should be all of them, but it's not.
It is at the end.
Anyway, obviously crosswords / fusion is, all about fusions. Given how often fusion is a recurring mechanics in Digimon, it frustrates me that I don't think there's any instance where like the actual mechanics of how 2 creatures inhabit the same body is addressed, or like the inherent problems of coordination and stuff is never really brought up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most recently, this reminds me of Steven Universe, and that, like, in that fusion is a very critical mechanic. And it is, it's not like super addressed. It's not like they really discuss the mechanics of how 2 bodies are working together, but whether they're in sync or not and all that stuff is an important factor into how well they're fighting. And I don't know, it's not that hard to do. Like, just have a, like in Evangelion when they had a DDR montage to show them getting into sync. Like, just do that, and it's not hard to address. Anyway, yeah.
I guess I'll talk about my thing here. The D-Reaper and Takato have dialogue in which, the D-Reaper's like, you don't have rights to exist. And Takato's like, no, we do. I'm going to prove it to you. And I'm just like, oh, you don't prove something to other people by just, like, punching them in the face. Like, that doesn't prove your high moral philosophical argument about who has a right to exist and who doesn't is correct.
Yeah.
And it's just so frustrating that like our actual politics reflect that sort of thing, where apparently they still do the thing where it's like the eyes say yes or whatever, and then they shout yes, and then no's shout no, and they shout no. And then some random person who clearly cannot judge the level of noise, and also that's a BS metric to go by anyway, is just like, all right, one of you wins. And I'm like, that's so garbage.
That's an interesting thing to draw a parallel to. I wouldn't have guessed that thing they would make you think of.
Well, it also reminds me of, there are plenty of people who actually argue that, like, whatever, Native Americans, like, when they came in contact with Europeans, they got diseases and died, therefore they're weaker, therefore they deserve not to, like, have representation or exist that much anymore. Which is also a garbage argument. You should read, like, the book 1491. I don't remember who it's by. Just put in book Native Americans 1491, figure it out. And then I'm pretty sure it addresses this thing, but, like, it's a thing where diversity is the thing you need to survive. It's not, it's like, okay, the Europeans had one thing that, like, gave Native Americans certain diseases, so it's just because they weren't exposed to those things, but they have other strengths, whereas, like, Europeans would also, in a reverse situation, like, if something came that played to their weaknesses, the same thing would happen, which is why you need diversity.
So what you're just saying is that, yes, they weren't actually destroyed because they were weak, or, like, I don't know. I guess I was like, yeah, obviously they, were destroyed because of like circumstances around it. And it's not like, I don't know, maybe it's just like so inherently resist the idea that like, oh yeah, the strong win and the strong are better because they're strong. And
right. Might is right is garbage. Don't give in to that, whatever alliteration of ending things is. I don't know the fancy word for that.
Susie's Digimodify sequence was cute. We finally got it. Something that wouldn't be apparent in the dub, so that was interesting reading about the differences, was that the card that Rio gives her in Japanese is called King Device, and when she uses it in Japanese, she calls it Queen Device instead.
Oh!
But there is a Queen Device.
Yeah, so in the card game...
There's also a Jack one.
In the card game, there are different cards, but apparently...
Susie, yeah.
Also, doesn't it not matter because wishes and stuff?
I suppose.
Yeah, couldn't she just have wished that card into existence?
She would have known what it was.
I think more realistically, she would have wished Rio's card out of existence.
Oh.
So now let's look at new Digimon. Most of them are T Reaper agents, though.
Those aren't Digimon.
They're new designs, new things. The first one is called ADR07 Practice Head.
Man, I hate these eldritch horrors.
So this is the one that like has just a bunch of mouths, and yeah, it's creepy.
Destiny.
Failed.
Okay.
Failed.
The next one, which was like really short-lived, was ADR08 Optimizer, which I think this is the one that Gallantmon needed Granny to defeat. But like I only remember it mostly as like it looked much more Lovecraftian and like Cthulhu-esque when it first appeared, but then they kind of beat it really quickly, so that was strange.
Yeah.
The next one is ADR09 D-Reaper Ball. I didn't realize that the sphere that Beelzemon had to break through with Gallantmon was a design. I guess it has design elements to it. Any thoughts about the final two D-Reaper forms or Gallantmon Crimson mode?
I liked Gallantmon original mode better.
Oh. I guess, I don't know. I appreciate the wings, but I guess I wouldn't want it to be like that all the time. Yeah, I think I do like original mode better.
I don't know. I kind of liked it.
I kind of liked it. Put that in the back of the box.
Yep.
It was okay. Not as bad as Rio.
Nothing can be as bad as Rio, so good luck. Ridiculous dialogue draft, where we each go around and pick our funniest, most ridiculous, or most touching line from the episodes. We're only doing one, because these episodes were all serious, McSerious.
Not in a good way, like just...
Yeah, not in a good... Like, they tried to be funny, and they're just like,
Yeah, there were lots of lines. I was like, this isn't enjoyable or funny or serious or anything.
Yeah, it was somewhere in between. A horror somewhere in between.
Ash, do you have the ordering?
Yes. Andrew, Ashley, Jeff.
No.
Okay. This is, I believe, episode 48. I'm not completely sure, but it's, they're like basically around Grani, and, Shibumi says,
I've never seen a more amazing piece of machinery.
Well, I have.
Huh?
Takator's parents have a machine in their store that makes bread.
Well, I guess there's no way Grani here can compete with that.
It's tough.
Grani could have been like, I have never been so insulted in my life. Why do I even help these people?
Grani's eyes did move after that, and I was like, are you jealous of the bread machine?
I was like, what's up with that?
Yeah,
You just insulted a living digital thing.
Yeah, that smelled very dubism to me, and yeah, that apparently the line in Japanese is more about how Gilmon is caring for Grani or whatever. But bread machines are better. Actually, go. Gotta go fast.
Okay. It's episode 48, and it's not that funny, but once you think about it, you're like, that's a ridiculous thing to say. It's Beelzemon talking to Reaper Form 09, whatever, I don't know.
I don't know the numbers, jeez.
And he was like,
what I did is beyond forgiveness. I don't need anyone to tell me that. No matter what I do, I can't change the past. But what I can do is save Jeri! And let me tell you, no talking eyeball's gonna stop me!
You're like, it's not the note you wanted to end on, buddy.
I actually wrote down that like paragraph as like just my notes, like, oh, it's such a like cathartic line, and like everything, and then like I just ignored that last part. I was like, no, that didn't happen. No, just
That definitely happened.
I actually, unsurprised, I only wrote down 3 things these whole episodes, which is like I usually have like 10 plus. And I was like, oh no, it'll be hard for you to pick one, but I do have 2 that are really close. So I don't know. Okay. Okay. So this one, my number 1 pick, episode 47. Terriermon like Shibumi's doing stuff, like explaining stuff? No, they're worried. I don't know. There's stuff's going on. And Terriermon says,
explaining stuff.
I don't even know. I don't think he's actually. I think they're just worried about things happening. Anyway, Terriermon says,
Mr. Mizuno, not trying to be rude or anything, but aren't you done with that yet?
Moment time.
That's a really irritating thing to say.
And it was great. I don't think it quite makes sense that Shibumi would hang around Terriermon enough to pick up on that and, retort back at him with it. But I'm glad Terriermon at least got to experience how irritating it is to say to him.
But then he says it to Henry at the end, and you're like, no.
Oh, when he's leaving?
Yeah.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Don't you sarcastically boo-hoo me.
聞こえていたよカウントダウンずっと前から
Now we are at the end of another arc. It's kind of awkward because it's the end of an arc and a season. So the first segment, we're going to talk about the end of the arc, and then we're going to talk about the end of the season. So the arc wrap up. Did anyone have any highlights of this D-Reaper arc? We're going for the point of the discussion, we're talking about D-Reaper arc being the fight with the D-Reaper in Tokyo, not the chunk of D-Reaper stuff that's in the digital world, because that was in the digital world arc. So highlights. My highlight was Beelzemon's redemption.
I think Beelzemon's redemption was the highlight of this arc. Nothing else was super great.
Andrew, what were you saying?
The adults did stuff.
Like they were actually effective?
The adults gave feelings.
Yeah, they were actually effective, especially compared to most kid things. Kid shows.
Yeah.
Because they would just be sidelined otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why that happens, because like in kid stuff, you want the power fantasy of the kids being more effective than adults. I guess that didn't really...
Yeah, but sometimes the adults are the best characters.
But yeah, I guess this kind of effectively handled it. Like you had the adults being effective and the ones like doing the science and whatever, but the kids were still the key players and everything. It was a partnership. They both were contributing, which is kind of rare. Low points.
Most of it.
The time frame of how long this happens.
Why hasn't anyone said Rio?
Because
that's just a given.
We keep forgetting about him.
Yeah, because he's so garbage. He's just so garbage, and he's not worth anything. Like, he doesn't do anything cool.
Rio would probably be on Team Mystic.
Wow.
No, he would not. He would be on Team Valor.
He'd be Team Valor. But
what? No.
Yeah, he would be.
I don't actually know.
His color is red.
I don't know that his color is not red.
You're right. It is blue, but he has a red thing. But his whole thing is being brave and junk.
His whole thing is just being
brave and junk.
Team Valor.
So that should be the motto of Gryffindor: brave and junk.
That is the motto of Gryffindor. Yeah, I think that having to go back and forth and retreat and come back to this thing was... See, there wasn't a particular low point. It just never, got itself going.
Yeah, there was a lot of stopping and starting, and you're just like, can we just go?
Actually, traffic lights are necessary for public order. So now that we finished this arc, I'm curious what everyone thinks about how the arc compares to the other arcs of Tamers. Mainly being the Wild Ones arc, the Tokyo Davis arc, the Digital World arc, and now the D-Reaper arc. Was there any favorite of those?
Honestly, the D-Reaper arc is my favorite. It's just I didn't remember how slow it was.
If it had taken 4 episodes instead of 10, it would have been very good. I can't actually think of a favorite arc out of that.
Well, I mean, I realize that's a bad question because, that's more of a fitting question for the retrospective episode when we're actually looking at, the whole season. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like each arc has been disappointing on rewatch.
It's just, they're so radically different, and it doesn't feel like a cohesive whole.
Yeah, that was my complaint, is that, they tried to shove the sovereigns back into it. They come and they're like, oh, they took down whatever. And I'm just like, that stuff with the Devas just did not matter at all. It just didn't.
They got Gallantmon.
It's just like it all just feels fine on its own, sort of, but like not worth it as a whole.
Not worth it? Are you saying definitively Tamers not worth it?
Not definitively, but like Tamers definitely overhyped.
Like it's different, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's better in like compared to like say Adventure.
I think it in a lot of ways parallels how I described the arc, which was this arc just being underwhelming, but also having a lot more interesting things to think about. I think Tamers plays around with concepts that are a lot more interesting than other seasons and makes an effort to directly tackle that kind of stuff more, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is the most enjoyable to watch season.
I guess. I mean, there's definitely like had the most emotions watching Tamers. Had more fun with it. But like, I mean, I just feel like shockingly the Adventure seasons had more of a cohesive story. What like happened there?
I don't know about that. I feel like the Adventure...
Well, I mean, not a cohesive overarching plot, but the character development.
I feel like Adventure feels like it gets a pass in comparisons because it had more chunks of disparate enemies, and it's like they're always progressing and doing. Whereas this feels like they tried to have stringing you through with a not doing that, like not having chunked into segments with different villains, but they kind of were.
They were all related, like directly related.
Right. And whereas like I feel like in Adventure we get kind of used to like, okay, we don't expect them to be super related. You know, they do try and in lore explain that they were working for the Dark Masters or whatever, but like structurally you're like, okay, there's gonna be a couple episodes facing one thing, then we're gonna shift. And I feel like Tamers didn't really set the expectation that you're gonna shift, maybe? I guess it also like whatever. I guess it feels like Tamers' setting changes a lot. And they often stay within the same setting for a while. Whereas, like, eventually you're like, constantly moving between different environments. And for the most part, they're in the digital world for most of it. Whereas here, they, like, go back and forth in the real world and the digital world, and then come back. And then it's, like, kind of a different Tokyo when they're back, full D Reaper and stuff. But they're always, like, in the same setting from episode to episode. So, in some ways, it feels like each arc is more monolithic and whatever. Anyway, I don't know my point of what I'm saying. Supposed to be comparing the arc itself, not the season. I feel like this whole arc, I feel like it played with the most interesting concepts of any of the other arcs. I guess I would call it the most satisfying. I don't know.
Well, this is the one I had the most memories of because of reruns.
I think my Digimon fandom kind of faded in the middle of Tamers, so I don't quite have as many strong memories at the end of the season. But I find it hard to, when I look back on arcs, I always think of them as like the bad parts. Like the bad parts stand out, kind of. Okay, so the last topic is discussing how this works as an ending for the series. How effective the end of Tamers is. Specifically, this came in as a Patreon question from Sam Krieger, and he asked, was the ending satisfying?
No. It was a bad ending.
Yeah.
On many different levels.
Okay, at best. It was just a bit too rushed, and they pretty much did what a lot of shows do with the, oh no, the Digimon are leaving forever, never mind.
Yeah.
That part felt unnecessary. It was also, I disagree with Jeri being like, hey, yeah, Beelzemon, yeah, we cool. I'm like, no, just no.
I disagree with your disagreement.
Okay, good for you.
I mean, she was the one from the beginning, like as soon as it went down, who didn't want him to be killed. You know, like it's not like this is a new thing or showing compassion to him.
There's a difference between not wanting him to be killed and being like, I forgive you for killing.
Yes, actually, there's a difference. That's why there's growth and change between the 2 points. I'm just saying it's not like it came out of nowhere. It's not like it went from 0 to 100. It went from a lower point to a higher point. Yeah, I think it's neat how in the final confrontation, everyone has a role to play. That's something that I think the other finales don't really nail. I don't love this execution of it, especially Rika and how
Rika and Rio don't actually do anything.
Yeah, they do something that's inefficient. They do something that's like, oh, it's a big attack, and it doesn't actually worthwhile.
Do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. At least they tried.
Yeah.
One thing I'd heard about, like, in praising Tamers was that the character arcs are actually pivotal to the finale. And I would definitely say, having rewatched it now, Jeri's arc is super pivotal to all the events of D River, but no one else's really is, aside from Beelzemon, kind of, but he's kind of like removed his chess piece before the end.
Rika doesn't want to kill them anymore? Question mark?
Yeah, I mean...
Rika, we've already established Rika and Rio's development is not consequential to anything.
But like, even though the characters have evolved since the beginning of the season, it doesn't super factor into the final battle. You know, it's not like because of the way, I mean, I guess you could say that Rika, you know, has changed from being I will be the strongest one to giving her...
I mean, they all changed, but it doesn't mean anything to the final battle.
Right, but I'm saying Rika kind of does factor into it because her position at the beginning of the season would not have been someone who would be willing to give her power up to someone else. But it's frustrating because that's not really the development we want. We don't want her being, oh yes.
Great lesson.
Yeah, it's not a good lesson. It's not really... It feels like it's suppressing who Rika is instead of growing. But yeah, the development of, like you were saying, Andrew, the development of Takato, of Henry, of Rio, there wasn't really any development of Rio, but like the development of Takato and Henry doesn't factor into the battle at all. Like Takato wants to save Jeri, which is not new that he cares for her.
He's willing to admit it though.
I guess.
What is even Takato's actual development? Like,
no, just like...
I feel like he grows as a tamer and as his relationship with Gallantmon.
If anything, the only things that really developed was the relationships between everyone, between the kids and each other, and even the adults. But that's all I can think of, not how they've changed as a person.
Yeah.
Individually.
Yeah, I guess Rika's the only one who's like, she acted this way and now acts a different way.
Yeah.
I was going to say that Henry's relationship with his dad is kind of pivotal to the battle. I mean...
That's definitely become stronger and shaky because of everything.
Right. I mean, it's not like he didn't trust his dad before, so it's kind of just, yes, Henry's dad...
Now he knows what his dad does.
I guess so. But it still doesn't feel like Henry grew closer with his dad and that, therefore this is the culmination of that. It feels like Henry has this connection, so therefore we can use it as this plot device. And theoretically, it would cause interesting developments for their relationship in the future for having been kind of abused or not told this was going to happen and kind of used in that way. But for now, no. And yeah, as we were saying, the reason the Digimon having to go back is cliche, formulaic. They try to give a reason for it, and it just doesn't. They try to give an explanation that fits some kind of world mechanics, and it just falls flat, and it's just well, this just kind of needs to happen to be sad. And
then it's fixed 2 minutes later.
Well, it's a little open-ended in a way that's I can at least appreciate the attempt to...
It's not open-ended because we see a Diginome.
Is there a Diginome?
Yes,
there was a Diginome.
I guess I told you it's a Diginome. I mean, it is open-ended whether they can actually get the Digimon again. I mean, the movie then, closes that book or opens that book definitively, but
no, the movie Digimon exists again in the real world, nothing happened.
I think that's arguable. I don't think
it's not.
I mean,
because it's nothing happened.
I think that's arguable.
We never see the reunion itself.
Right. It's it's in the future, not it's arguable whether it's likely to happen or it's it's already happened. Anyway,
it already happened.
Right. So it's still the future. Anyway, I feel like Adventure did a better job of when they need to be separated. It felt like a more coherent reason why they need to be separated. It's not because Digimon need to stay here, humans need to stay here. It's just because this is going to close. You can't stay here forever. And people go to their natural places because of that. And that,
or you'll be stuck here forever.
Right. But there's no well, Digimon are being pulled away magically, blah blah blah.
Because my dad lied to me.
Yeah. I can't remember how... I remember there being a similar separation like this at the end of Savers, but I can't remember how it went down.
The digital world closed.
So it's Adventure, but from the opposite side?
Yeah, and he stays there. Spoiler.
Right, yeah. So, I don't know. I know it's a scene that pulls a lot of people's heartstrings. I know a lot of people come at the end of Tamers and are really emotionally affected by it. So I feel kind of bad being I don't like it. And I feel like it did pull on our heartstrings a little bit, even though we don't like it.
Sure. It's one of the things that I remember about the end. I was isn't the end really sad? Oh, here comes the sad. But it's just critically as a story, me thinking about Tamers now and arcs is like, it just feels like nothing aside from character development, which really is only like Rika has a drastic change, Rika and Renamon. Like nothing before Beelzemon trying to like killing Leomon feels all that significant.
But I don't know if that. I think you could hold it up to any season. Like, you know, was Greymon fighting Shellmon significant story wise? Like, it seems like a weird standard.
Okay, well, the problem with the beginning of the season was that they all learn. There's only 3 of them. At least in Adventure, you're like, okay, there's 8 of you. You all have to do the same stupid thing each time. Fine. And this season's like, there's only 3 of them. You spend as much time having them learn the same lesson over and over again for like 14 episodes.
Gallantmon, don't do this.
Which is just ingrating.
But yeah, there's a lot of repetition in that regard. One thing I find really frustrating is that we don't really get any farewell in the final episode with the parents. They say their goodbye when they leave for Tokyo to fight in episode 49. And that's the last time we see most of the parents aside from John Yu. And it explains why that farewell for them going to Tokyo was so awkward. Because it kind of needs to be their last farewell, and even though, you know, that should have just been a planned, okay, we planned for you to leave, okay, you're going to leave. But instead they had to make it more emotional because it would be the last time seeing them before the end of the season, I guess. But it's just frustrating because, like, I think the parents were one of the best parts of the season, and it just, you know, would have been nice to check in with them.
Well, not just the parents, just the adults in general.
I think the parents specifically,
especially the parents.
But like, it also just like would be natural. I guess they, you know, wanted to end on the note of the Digimon leaving, but like it would be, well, like say, end soon after the note of the Digimon leaving. But it would have been nice to see the parents supporting the kids. You know, that's the time when you need parents the most, is when experiencing loss like that, and that would have been cool. But no,
there was one parent, and that was it.
Yeah. Does anyone else wish their parents were there?
I wish that didn't exist.
Wish the ending didn't exist?
I wish that ending didn't exist. Yeah, I do, because it's dumb.
I guess it also feels like the textbook definition of emotionally manipulative. You know, it's like there's no inclination this needs to happen up until the moment where it does. And then it's like just to make you feel sad and have a sad ending, you know?
I mean, you keep using vague terms like inclination. Like, John Yu hinted at it with his behavior for at least an episode. It's just, was there actually an explanation for why they needed, like, it didn't make any sense.
Well, there was an explanation, but it was just BS.
Yeah. Also, John Yu was hinting at, like, his guilt, but he also did a thing where he implanted Juggernaut in Terran without telling him. You know, like, that was what I kind of thought was his guilt at that point. But I guess he had multiple things to be guilty over. Anyway, yeah, so they do give an explanation. It's just like BS. I didn't write it down, though. But it was something to the effect of, like, yeah, in order to do this, we had to close off Digimon, that they would be deleted from the real world if we left them too. But one parallel I noticed, which is kind of weird, is that, like, the vortex thing they set up, whatever, to suck the D-Reaper back in, what they claimed, it wasn't just sending the D-Reaper to Digiworld, because that would suck. To just be like, nope, your problem now, Digiworld, just take him back. It is that it would be sucked up and revert back to its original form when it got sucked up, which is very similar to what the Digimon are going through. They're reverting back to their baby forms as they're being sucked away. And once I noticed that connection, I was like, maybe John Yu's lying even more, and they're actually being, you know, they're getting the same treatment as the D-Reaper, being reverted to, like, pre-Digimon form or whatever. I mean, it obviously contradicts the movie and everything, so, like, canon-wise, no, but it would have been an even darker route for the series to take. So now for a recommendation articulation, our segment where we recommend or plug something that we've been enjoying lately and we think that you might enjoy. We each get 2 minutes to recommend something, so I'm going to go first. So my recommendation this week is for Jane the Virgin. Part of the problem with these recommendations is we record way in advance, and then, like, I recommend Orphan Black, and by the time the episode came out, Orphan Black was already over. The season was already over. So Jane the Virgin, I feel confident in, since it's not showing now, and I'm just catching up on it. I'm watching season 1. By the time I listen to it, it probably will still be mid-seasons. There are 2 seasons out. It's basically telenovela-esque. I don't think quite qualifies as a telenovela because it's in English and everything, but it's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a soap opera-esque, but the premise is that the main character goes in for like a pap smear and accidentally gets artificially inseminated, even though she's a virgin. That's called Jane the Virgin. That title definitely threw me off at first. I heard about it. I heard about it for a while. I heard it was good. I listened to it. I started watching it because they featured one of the actors on Another Round, and they were like super positive about it. So I was like, I'll check it out. And it's really good. It's really heartwarming, funny. There's like a funny narrator. There's a typewriter like interjecting things into the show as like people will say something and then the typewriter will say something else and things like that. It's humorous, witty, heartwarming. There's one of the things I love in media is a long, like we have with Rika's mom or grandmother. There's a family relationship kind of like that. It's just good. It's great. There's love story stuff behind a lot of it, which I don't really care for in this. It's not really good, but the rest of it is all really great. Anyway, it's good. Check it out. Ashley, go.
Me, okay. I will recommend the artist Madion. He has a new song with Porter Robinson. It won't be new by the time this episode comes out, but whatever. Okay. The point is, it's really good. Madion is an EDM artist. He is cooler than most EDM artists. He's very young. He has a very distinct sound that, as far as I know, most newer artists don't replicate because they're all still trying to steal Avicii's sound. Well, because Avicii's more successful. He's also not, making all that new tropical sound EDM garbage because Madion's too cool for that. Just listen to Madion if you like EDM. Even if you don't like EDM, listen to Madion. He'll change your life. He'll change your perception of electronic dance music. There. Done.
Okay, Asher.
Oh, if you somehow haven't seen this yet, I would recommend the new Voltron. Did anybody recommend this yet?
I think you already did.
I did?
You're parodying yourself now.
That may have been what you did last time, maybe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I feel like I was there for that.
Okay, whatever. No, what else did I watch?
Did you watch The Little Prince?
Not yet. Okay. I watched, what's it called? Limitless was really good. It's also a Netflix, it's not a Netflix series, but it is on Netflix. It's about this guy who takes like this magic drug that makes him like super, super, super smart, but it has crazy withdrawal effects, and he gets mixed up in this stuff with the FBI, and he's just like a really good dude. And it was really funny and really touching, and I got confused at the end. So I don't recommend the end of the show, of the first season so much, but the whole thing is really great and really well done and makes you feel good about people.
Why would you want to feel good about people?
Why people are so
2 minutes. Andrew.
Okay, I'm recommending a manchu. It's an anime on Crunchyroll. I guess it's sort of similar to Suritama in the sense that it's a shy person, except this time it's a girl who moves to a different town and meets new people, except there's no aliens and other nonsense. But this is about scuba diving, and so girl meets girl, becomes friends with girl learns to learn scuba diving and so forth, and little heartwarming friendship stuff. And I'm gonna say that this reminds me of Kari from Digimon in the sense that the second episode has the title, The Story of Doing Something Bad with Hikari, which is basically the story of Hikari in a nutshell. And that's it.
You can find the full show notes for this episode by going to podigious.com/312. You can leave us feedback in the comment section on the site, or you can just let us know your thoughts on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, Reddit, email, With the Will, SoundCloud, YouTube, skywriting, foreboding prophecies, or color-coded smoke signals. There are also lots of other things you can do for next week's feedback episode, including rating the episode we covered on the show notes page, voting on your favorite RDD clip on the show notes page so you can declare a winner of the Ridiculous Dialogue Draft, leaving a voicemail 90 seconds or less answering our question of the week.
What lessons did you take away from Tamers?
You can either call 913 Gallantmon if you're in the US, or send an audio recording to podigious@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can always leave a review for the podcast in iTunes for us to transgarble.
If you want us to talk about your blast mode beautiful feedback on the next episode, Get it in by 8 p.m. this Saturday, September 10th. Bullseye, baby.
Podigious is made possible with the support from our awesome Patreon, including Amanda Angelwamon, David Graumon, Eric Angemon, Jack Santaagamon, Joe Keto, Kai Lunamon, Kaiser Washi, Sam Kriwagamon, and Stevie Panamon.
If you want to support the show on Patreon, you can get some cool rewards, like access to our private Slack chat group for $1 a month, monthly stickers for $5 a month, and early episodes for $10 a month. Reaching our next goal will allow us to make podcast episodes about movies related to Digimon, so check out patreon.com/Podigious to help us out. Want to make a one-time donation to the podcast instead? Our PayPal is www.paypal.me/Podigious. You can find the link to PayPal and our Patreon on Podigious.com.
You can find Podigious on Twitter, Tumblr, or Facebook to keep up with the Digimons and get funny images and GIFs related to the show. If you don't like how we pronounce GIF, then become a Patreon so we can vote on how we have to pronounce it. You can find me on Tumblr, where my handle is Phantom Cellist Jeff.
I'm on Twitter at JeffRientlyJeff.
Ashley.
Yawning again. I'm on Twitter at AshMcD00.
And person who accuses me of not wanting to talk to them?
Well, it's true, you didn't. You can find me on Tumblr at AsherDashery.
Our Igneous Impmon artwork is by the awesome Vmon Tamer, whom you can find on Twitter and DeviantArt as Vmon Tamer.
Share the podcast with your friends who fight their way out of metaphorical depression, but don't share the podcast with your friends who absorb all your power to unleash an attack which does nothing.
And join us next week as we rewind to the first movie to find out who Kai Tamiya is. Bye!
Bye.
And remember, never stop digivolving.
全て始まりそれが答えたのわらピザピザすいま全速力で未来も今も駆け抜けろ
Gallantmon gets a horse from Norse mythology.
It's Norse mythology.
Don't do that, Jeff.
Gallantmon gets a horse. Horse from Norse.
See,
this
you
is what's
made it
throwing me
worse.
off.
You
Yeah.
made it. You messed it up.
I mean, initially was like, should I call it like a Norse horse? There's the like Mr. Ed phrase that like a horse is a horse, of course. And I was like, a horse is a Norse, of course. Anyway, I didn't go with those, so be happy.
Good.
Gallantmon gets a horse from Norse mythology, but no one recognizes its name because it's not one of the Final Fantasy summons.
Oh.
It's true, though.
It is true. In episode 48, Shadow of the Beast King, a.k.a. Beelzebubble.
Wait,
Beelzemon...
she always pronounced Beelzel wrong.
Huh?
You're wrong.
I was going to say different. I was like, no, it's just wrong. Like, you switch the Z and the L.
Whatever.
It's Beelzebub. Beelzebub, not Beelzel.
Well, I'm gonna keep pronouncing it wrong because I can't wrap my head around whatever you just said.
It's L like, instead of
Beelzemon? That sounds weird.
Beelzebub is the thing, right? The Jewish thing?
I mean, it's... yes. And that doesn't mean I know how to pronounce it right.
But you're the ultimate Jew here!
Well, looking up Wikipedia, it like actually just puts a dash, like BL-Zebub. Oh.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, like, because Baal, is a thing. Beelzebub? I don't like this.
You can't do it, like, physically.
Is this the real life? Skipping.
Well, I've been pronouncing it that way in the song, too. In episode 48, Shadow of the Beast King, a.k.a. Beelzebubble. Beelzemon, yeah?
Which ends up being useless because Rio is human garbage. Facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an arc.
I just deleted the whole document. Oh no.
Oh my god, you actually.
I meant to delete my search field, so I hit Command F and then select all and delete, but it didn't register the Command F, so it just Anyway. Yes, okay, everything's not deleted.
I'll cry
Just like
if
the
it
D
was.
Reaper.
Yeah, I am the D Reaper. Surprise, plot twist.
Yeah, well, it's fine
Right,
because you
right.
wear fur really well, so you have to be a lady. That's basically what
I was like,
happened.
oh my god.
I
So
think that-
Renamon, what?
I
What are
was
you
gonna
gonna say?
The furry fandom would disagree that you need to be a woman to wear fur.
Oh, great, cool. Thanks for that.
Are you okay, Ash? What was that noise?
I'm okay. Can we not talk about the furry fandom in relation to Digimon? It makes me like, let's not do that.
Doesn't make any sense. That's why you don't remember it. Your brain is like, I cannot understand, so I just leave that out.
Okay, I'm gonna play. Okay, so she says onna no hito desho. Like, you're probably a girl, aren't you? No, onna no hito, I think, can like vary from girl to woman. Let me double check that.
That's woman, yeah. A girl would be onanoko.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sure, like the full range of the use of it. Yeah, onanoko definitely explicitly means girl more.
Yeah, I think it's just like female person.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it has a implication of age, right? Like, I don't know if saying woman implies older than girl, or if it's just a gender thing. I think it does, because like there are words like dansei and josei, I think, are more like age agnostic.
Oh, really? Age agnostic? Because josei would be young woman, as far as I know.
I don't think so. I mean, looking up like the first definition I find is like woman semicolon-female. Because and dansei too, I think, is more about like gender. Like, because it's the second character at least is gender.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry for derailing, Ashley.
No, I was trying to think through how that could possibly help me, but I guess it can't, because our society is so garbage at having distinct, like, there's no words that divide sex and gender when you refer to, I guess female is supposed to be sex. I don't know, it's all hard, okay?
Holding strictly to nostalgia is really bad and really dangerous, and Trump. And anyway, but like the thing
I'm so sorry.
I was waiting to see if it was Ash or Andrew.
You're like, which Softman brother is it?
It was totally Andrew. It was not me. I have not played that game since Pokemon Go came out.
Oh.
I am so sorry. I did not know the sound was on.
Okay, Ash, can you set 10 minutes?
It's ready whenever you are.
I'm setting it only for 10 minutes because I feel like I get the vibe that no one else likes Beelzemon, so I might be the only one.
It's not that I don't like him. I just don't think he's the most important thing.
Okay, make it 15 minutes.
All right.
Let me test if you can like see things properly.
Na 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 na.
I missed this song.
It's uncanny.
I don't have it.
I haven't actually hit play yet. How would you guys? So can you see
Wait, Jeff,
everything?
did you buy this?
Yeah, I bought it like years ago.
Do I have it?
I mean, I guess I was gonna say, well, no, I actually did buy it years ago. It's not true. I owned it illegally years ago. I bought it recently.
It's just called Riri, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's from like 2002 or something, 2004.
2005.
But anyway, you can see it properly, right?
Yes.
I missed this show.
I miss you, Erased. There's nothing as good as you right now, Erased, at all, even remotely close.
Erased manga.
I keep being tempted to buy the erased... Oh, wait, you can all see my screen, can't you?
Yes.
I keep being tempted to buy the erased manga in Japanese.
In Japanese?
Buy it in English.
I mean, but it's not out in English.
It's coming out
that makes
sometime
sense.
this century.
And also, I want things to practice Japanese. It's like $50.
That is true. I'm not sure this...
If you want something to practice Japanese, get a kids manga.
Well, I'm just saying, like, these kids are speaking in kids' language, so it might not actually be that hard.
Right. I mean, I've heard that it is not that hard to decipher. Also, I also have kids. I'm reading Yotsuba. I have Nichijou. I have various different levels. Anyway, my point is, like,
But
is the manga actually...
Nichijou has no dialogue half the time.
Oh, really? I haven't actually read it yet. But my point is it a good manga?
Yes, it is a great manga. We're talking about the gag manga, right?
No.
Wait, are we talking about Erased?
No, talking about Erased.
Yes.
No, for
Erased is a good
Nichijou.
manga.
But no, I'm talking about Erased. now? Because it's, is it worth buying 8 volumes for $50 of Erased?
Yes.
Yes.
Because they're only releasing in 2.
What?
They're only releasing it in 2 volumes for the English. Oh.
Wait, they can't. 4 volumes per thing? That doesn't sound possible.
Wait, what? They're in English. I think it's being released in 2 hardcovers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Ash, it's like the final Battle of G Gundam if they took like 10 episodes to do it instead of 2.
You're assuming a lot about what I remember about the last couple episodes of G Gundam.
I know.
That's the one where they like every episode they're like, G, a Gundam.
Yeah, that's Gundam Wing.
I'm glad I made Ashley laugh.
I've only watched Gundam Wing. Asher and I had a lot of fun with that, right?
Ashley, we should watch G Gundam. You'll hate it. No. We gotta watch Sailor Moon.
No, but seriously,
the last Sailor Moon.
What Jeri goes through was basically rain.
Kinda,
I even linked a photo.
Great.
Is someone's phone going off?
Yeah, there's something that keeps vibrating. Or maybe it's just like background noise.
I don't know. It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, it's not me.
Is it like a fan?
Around me.
Asher, do you have a fan on?
Yeah.
I think it might be the
Definitely
fan.
your fan.
It's like the hottest day of the year, man.
It's the most hot. That doesn't work as a song.
Day of
with the digi beat.
Yeah, beat the heat with the digi beat. Asher?
Yeah. No, I don't want to die.
Summer.
Asher, do you have any recollection of what you recommended?
Oh, I recommended Little Dicky.
Oh, God! That's why.
Yeah, I have no recollection. It was so long ago. I went to a whole queer Talmud retreat in between.
Oh, wait, how was that? I forgot about that.
It was great. It was amazing.
It was the most amazing thing ever.
By the way, I drove from Philly to Wisconsin. So, Ashley, you can't say that I don't know how to drive anymore.
Asher, let me tell you that I think driving to Wisconsin in rural Pennsylvania through Ohio is different than driving through the nasty cityscape that is like New Jersey Turnpike to Connecticut.
You can find me on platform at handle Ask Everyone Else. You can find me on Tumblr as you can find me. You can find me at the bathroom.
And remember, never stop digivolving your differences.
I'm just combining them all now. Oh boy.
I think it was someone who was on the listener special. I think they were saying, I think it was some message saying that when they listen, they say digivolve your differences back at us at the end of the episode.
Digivolve your differences. Aw.